Okay, everybody, listen, before we get out there on this magic carpet ride, I want to remind everybody that Don't You Dare Close Your Eyes is not just a wonderful lyric, it could also save your life. The traffic is real and it's dangerous.
You know, so this was how I used to take pictures with all the fans. And then I felt like this wasn't, you know, it's not appropriate, right?
No, I feel uncomfortable.
You feel uncomfortable, right? You feel uncomfortable?
And I'm the fan.
You know, then I switched to the prom.
That's like Christmas card.
You know, Jada was here a few months ago, and she told me a story about you, and I'm curious to get your side of the story.
Oh, man, she been putting my business in the street?
She has.
What'd she say?
She said you're putting your business in the street, is basically what she said.
I'm genie of the land. Rock the thing, grab it, never had a friend, never had a friend you ain't. Never had a friend, never had a friend you ain't. Never had a friend like me. We went to Dubai and we went skydiving, right? So my father-in-law, he was last out of the plane, and he comes down, and everybody comes in, and you cheer when everybody comes down. And then my father-in-law comes in, and he's totally unconscious. And I'm like, What happened is, my co-star, Margot Robbie, who is fantastic. She was Wolf of Wall Street. So, we made this film together, and Jada, when we found out Margot was doing it, Jada Googled Margot. And, Margot was 23. When we started the film, and Jada looked at Margot and said, "Boy, you need to go to the gym right now." I had a little bit of an injury. It's called dog jaw. I don't know. Have you ever?
I don't think I have.
Here, feel it. Master, you're in luck because up your sleeve you got a brand of magic never fails. You got some power in your corner now. Heavy ammunition in your camp. You got some punch, pizzazz, yahoo, and all you gotta do is rub that lamp. With Focus, this is the first time that it's like people talking about sexy. It feels
You're
weird.
Sexy.
Yeah. Girl, stop playing with me.
This is Will, and they're always done like this.
Self-discipline is the center of all material success. What is your contribution to the human family? It's just other people's opinions is a really shitty way to determine how we feel about ourselves. And that's all I'm gonna say about it.
Genies don't have feet, but you left some big shoes to fill.
Yeah, man.
Rest in peace, Robin.
Yeah.
That must have been...
Yeah, it's a fan art. A fan made that, man.
Really?
So,
it's beautiful.
yeah.
And then Will had the brilliant idea of getting in like a bucket of like steaming hot water.
Yeah.
And he'd get this little bucket and he'd like sneak up to people that were like standing and shivering to death. And then he'd like pour it down their necks. And you could just like see people standing there and then they were like, ah. It was like, it was sensual.
You were saying no.
And you could see like, and he was going around, he was running around like a little kid in a candy store. He was like,
If the lactose doesn't agree with you, it's not going to agree with others. And just at the heart of it, if you love anybody, especially those that are near you, just put the ice cream down because we are not inclined to enjoy your funky ass.
Something that you want to jump out of a plane.
Yes.
But you forced your wife. That's what I read, that you forced her to jump out of a plane. She's scared of heights.
She's scared of heights.
Doesn't like flying.
Doesn't like flying.
And you said, for my 50th birthday, you jump out of a plane for me.
Yes, okay.
How did she, look at that.
Ooh, yeah.
What was she, before?
Yes. No, see, look, doesn't she look happy? Babe, look, that's our company. But I don't wear jewelry. I rarely have money. I don't carry money with me, right? So I was like, oh man, it's 99 cents for each bottle. But so $2, we could both get a bottle. She didn't have money, I didn't have money. And she was like, well, let's just walk back to the house. I was like, babe, it's 4 blocks to the house. I was like, Oh, let's ask those people. It seems like
Anywhere in the world you can go where you aren't famous?
I just haven't been there yet. But no, it's really strange though. It's like Men in Black is everywhere on Earth. And when the bungee cord, because you go and you go and you go, and you're like, oh, please work, please work. And then it goes, and there's this brief moment where you just kind of stop for a second, and you're like, wow. And you go, but
right back into the chopper. Yeah. Like, how does that not? That would scare me too. That you're going back.
I was like, oh wow, the chopper's coming back pretty fast.
Yeah.
From the SKO Media Group studio in Cuyahoga Falls, Ohio, it's time for the Some Kind of Radio Show, starring Earl McCune and the Crazy Crew. Call in or text to 234-200-5110. That's 234-200-5110. Now, here's Earl McCune and the Crazy Crew.
Here we go.
Only fitting.
Tonight we're saluting Will Smith here on Some Kind of Radio Show.
The French Prince of Bel-Air.
The French Prince.
That's what I used to always think it was when I was growing up.
The French Prince.
The French Prince.
The French Prince. 234-250-110 is the phone number to call in. We're here live. Program change of schedule. We're going to be here every other Friday. This is our first week starting our bi-weekly
schedule,
I should say. Hang on. On the phone, John Sensel's with us. Phones are working tonight, by the way.
Yeah. Awesome.
Yeah, amazingly.
Our stream didn't for a minute, so we are actually on our second link of the night. So anyone's going, what the fuck's going on? We had to create a new link. We go to start the broadcast, and all of a sudden, it wasn't receiving the data. I'm like, well, what the hell? Then just as I got it to go, it clicked off. I'm like, are you freaking kidding me? I test this stuff all day long, and it works like a champ. You go live, takes a shit. Story of my life.
Coronavirus.
Coronavirus is getting computer viruses now. That's what. Yeah, that's what's coming to. Anyway, how was your guys' the last couple of weeks?
It's one week after the other.
You look awake tonight, Tony.
I am.
Last week, 2 weeks ago, you were kind of dozing into the microphone.
Well, weeks are getting a little easier, and
Yeah.
it's just, I'm kind of looking forward to a week from tomorrow, the National Pie Day.
Oh, you're gonna get some pie?
Well, 314. Anybody, for those that don't know, I do the whole Uber thing in Kent State.
No.
Well,
I didn't know that. Did you know that?
Breaking news.
Breaking news right here on Some Kind of Radio Show.
Well, next Saturday is what they call on Kent Fake Patty's Day.
Right.
And that is because since the students can't celebrate the day of, they do it the Saturday beforehand.
Right.
So and I will be out from about 10 in the morning till about 3 in the morning. But I'll be swimming in the green when I get home because of the money that's to be made. Because, people just run out and, they don't want to walk and carry 30 packs of beer. And they'll be out shuttling people to the gas station to get beer, shuffling people party to party.
Right.
They'll go to the bars in the afternoon for a little bit, back to parties, then back to the bars at night. Mm-hmm. Last year, the first 2 girls I picked up at 10:15 in the morning were already smashed.
Shocker.
Shocker, yeah.
Shocker. I can't believe it.
So that's what I'm looking for.
Tony. I know.
Well, you know the sad thing, John, is I picked them up, and they were going to some frat house, big surprise, and I asked them, I'm like, okay, so I was just like, what kind of money would you spend on a day like today between beer? And they're like, we're girls, we just go to parties, and they give us beer. If they don't give us beer, we got to sleep with them. We do what we got to do. You're a girl at Kent State University, and you're out at the party scene.
Right.
You do what you got to do to get what you want.
Yeah.
So,
I tell you what, my last couple of weeks has been crazy to say the least.
Okay, mine's been kind of boring. So
yeah, I've been nonstop. I've been so busy with work and everything since I had to take the promotion at work. I have just been non-freaking stop. I mean, it's just absolutely nonstop, and it's not bad. I mean, believe me, I'd rather be busy. But oh my God, I've just been going.
Hey, at least you know what your job position is when you go in the fucking morning. I don't.
Well, I walk in. My position's this. I'm usually getting bent over pretty hard. That's my position. I'm getting it from the rear. No, here's it. I love what I do. I love my job, and people I work with couldn't ask for a better group of people to work with. My employers are fantastic. Couldn't ask for a better group of people to work with than what I do for my regular job. Absolutely. And I couldn't be happier with my job. It's just been so busy. It just seems like everything that could possibly happen has been like, oh my God, it's happened. You know, it's been nonstop for me. Completely nonstop. And that's okay. I mean, that's quite all right. But it's like, oh, I'm just so... By the time I get to Fridays, that's why I said, okay, we're going to go to every other week for the show just because I need one day a week where I can just kind of go, decompress, just do nothing. That's all I want to do. Just one day a week, do nothing. And
playing with balls.
And not play with balls. That's the whole point. I don't want to play with balls. If I can get one day a week not to play with balls, great. Anyone, I'm still getting people writing me, hey, the link's not working. Well, if you go to the channel,
yeah.
If you go to the YouTube channel, you'll see where it says live now, right on the SKO Media Group YouTube channel. That's the link to follow. Do not go to the one playlist because that's about a 55-second playlist or video where it played for, we had 55 seconds where it worked, and after that it went, see ya. But that's just kind of how it goes sometimes. That's the thing with you doing a live podcast, live radio. It doesn't matter. Things happen, and I've been working on this thing all day today to make sure we went off without it. We got off about 10 minutes late, but that's okay. I do want to talk about the funniest thing. I was kind of going through some stuff, testing the phone line today. And here we get a voicemail on the SKO Media Group voicemail. And I'm like, oh, who called? I'm like, okay, this is someone else. She left us a voicemail message. Okay, let's see what it is. So I'm going to play it for everybody. You guys tell me what you think. Okay, it's going to play right now. Here we go.
The Department of Social Security Administration. The reason you have received this phone call from our department is to inform you that there's illegal enforcement actions filed on your Social Security number for fraudulent activity. So
fraudulent
when you get
activity.
This message, kindly call back at the earliest possible on our number before we begin with the
kindly call back.
That is 320-334-6619.
Now, mind you.
320-334-6619.
6619.
Yeah, remind you.
And have a nice day.
Mind you, that is not the Social Security telephone number.
No.
Okay.
No, that's number one because it would be a 202 area code.
Well, actually, the number listed for the Social Security Administration is 1-800-772-1213. That is the real Social Security phone number.
Or 1-800-something-1040 is.
Right, that's for the IRS. That's the IRS.
Yeah. Oh, Social Security, yeah.
Social Security Administration.
Okay.
So I'm like, okay, that first one's IRS, this one's Social Security. So allegedly, the Social Security Administration says they're calling us, and we're in trouble. So, you know what? I can't help myself. Oh shit! I just hung up on John.
Oops.
John, call back. I hung up on you by accident. Hold on, I'll just call him back. Let me call John back. I hit the wrong button. I want to call John right back. I like just call him back. That's what's the greatest thing. Oh, wait a minute. Oh, he's calling me. I was just calling you.
Or is it going to pick up?
Hi, John. Sorry, I hit the wrong button.
Well, I was wondering whether it was you or whether it was me because I was trying to like
Operator.
put the video up here, and I'm like
Operator
okay,
error.
how the hell did I hang up?
Anyway, we got this scam phone call. It's a scam. So me just being me, I can't help myself. I think we play along here, and let's call them. All right. So let me pull up the phone number here again. Okay. Let me pull up the dial pad. Dialer. That's not the dialer. Too many damn buttons to hit. Okay. So 3, 2, 0. I don't mind giving out a phone number like this because we know it's a scam.
Yeah.
6. Now, the number we are calling, if you want to call it yourself and fuck with these people, 320-334-6619. That is the number. Okay? So let's call it.
Have a little fun.
Okay. Yeah, dial. Actually, yeah, let's make the call. Oh, I hope I actually put it in the right place. Jesus Christ. It's like my first time working a telephone, everybody. Well, it's a little bit different than working a regular telephone. It's a computerized telephone. Okay, 320-334.
Compelling show.
6.
Compelling listen right now.
Maybe he's listening. Okay, let's call it. Let's call it. All right, we're gonna call it.
Your call is very important to us. Please stay on the line and you'll be transferred to the next available agent.
Let's see what this is all about. While we're waiting. What kind of funky shit's this? We don't get hold music? Hell, we even have hold music.
Yeah, or at least like some kind of recorded thing saying, "Hey, all of our agents are busy.
Yeah.
Please hold."
All right, let's let me mute so they don't hear us.
Okay.
Okay. We're gonna mute our microphones to them. So that way, right now, Tony, you waking up? You okay? Just make sure you're awake there, buddy. So we're still on hold. Okay, we called this number back.
Your call is very important to us. Please stay on the line and you'll be transferred to the next available agent.
Okay. That sounds like that is the worst sounding
fake
shit I've ever heard in my life.
It's like one of us did that.
It's like one of us. No, I think we could do better than that. Come
honestly.
On. Oh, I know that. I got John on. Oh, let me merge John. All right, John, you there? John, you there?
I'm here now.
Okay, hang on. I'm trying. I had to merge it. Okay, I got the other call muted. I got the other call. No, I don't.
You merged it, so it's.
Yeah.
Did it connect?
No, it's connected. We're on hold.
Your call is very important to us. Please stay on the line and you'll be transferred to the next available agent.
Well, you got my other message, right? Yeah.
Yeah. Mm.
It was gonna be that one or this one.
Mm-hmm.
That sounds like a kid before they hit puberty.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Anyway, we'll just kind of go on about our business.
You're calling now.
Yeah. Oh my goodness gracious! But anyway, you know what? I'll tell you what. Let's take a break. We'll call it back because I want to actually try to get through because I want to spend some time with this one because I think it'll be kind of fun. Yeah, but I hung up on that one for right now. We'll call it back after a break, but I want to mess with the scammers so bad. It's not even funny. It's not even funny. Actually, it is funny, but anyway, let's. Yeah, that's the whole idea. That's the idea. I want to mess with some people. I want to mess with some people badly. It's what I live for. It's what I do. It's what
Thank you for calling Al Qaeda. Who would you like us to bomb today?
Yeah.
Can I give you the almighty list? Bulk discount? I don't know about that. Anyway, let's take our first break, okay, and then we'll come back, and then we'll try to mess with the scammer, okay? Let's do that, guys. You're listening and watching Some Kind of Radio Show right here on YouTube. Be right back, everybody.
Hey, sweetie poo. It looks like I'll be running a little late tonight.
Okay.
So anyway, I'll be a little late, okay? Oh, it's okay. I'll miss you too. I can't wait to snuggle. Honey, I got out on time after all. Yeah, meeting got postponed. Turns out we really didn't even need to.
Oh my god.
Buster! Put it in!
Sunny side up and oh, fucking shit! You want to know the secret how to get that shit off? Use your fingernails. There you are, motherfucker. Hey, it's your girl Kathy, and I got some brand new shit. You better peep this. My shit don't stick. What are you making, eggs? Or you cooking for robots? Beep, boop, beep. Most people can't stand this sound, but I can listen to it forever. Watch me now. Hey, do you even lift, bro? Speed bomb! Woo! Look out, Spider-Man. I got that symbiote. Yeah, I bet you want some of that sticky monkey red, monkey-looking motherfucker. Me? Well, you know why I like to keep my monkey hot. Now, don't burn yourself now, because that shit's fire. Then I slide into the plate like, whoa. This my original recipe, dank chicken nuggies. I have infused this pan with the power of red copper. And you want to see some real shit? This is how I pick up a sandwich. Try that shit at home. I'm saving time and money whipping these eggs, whipping these eggs. Then I drop a mac and cheese bomb on them. Woo! And the kids love it. Hey, the fox, we'll call 911. That turned out all right. All right, let's send these boys home to mama. Just look at all that sweet sugar caramelized all over these nuts. And it's so easy to clean. Remix. Flip it round and flip it. Flip it on upside down. Biscuits, you just got served breakfast. It's been real, Copper Pan. And you can buy yours today for $19.99. God damn. That's a good deal. Pay an extra $10 and I'll throw in my recipe book for free, and it's built to last.
Hey, that's my fucking pan.
Give me your money, you cheap prick. Fuck it, I'll even throw in the forever sharp copper knife. You know what would go great with this rock? Some Bago.
The Some Kind of Radio Show will be back in a moment.
Bitch. Ah! That's right! That's right! Get up! Get up! That's what you get! Look at you! Ship all banged up? Who's the man? Huh? Who's the man? Wait till I get another plane. I'm lining all your friends up right beside you. Where you at, huh? Huh? Where you at? Welcome to Earth.
That's what I call a close encounter. You are tuned into the Some Kind of Radio Show. Call now at 234-200-5110. Now, back to Earl McCune and the Crazy Crew.
All right, we're back. We're here. We're live. You know, we do what we do here on Some Kind of Radio Show. Just, oh boy. Yeah. Anyhow, all right, we're here. All right. Anyway, let's try doing this again, shall we? Let's give it another shot. Let's try calling it. Let's make a call. Let's call this phone number yet again and see what happens. I gotta find the damn phone number again. I got it on my.
There should be a call log.
I know, but
dial pad.
There is, but too much other crap going on with it right now. Oh my goodness gracious! No, I don't want to see that. Stop it.
Weeder picks again?
No, I'm trying to get my. Anyway, forget that right now.
Is it snowing down by you, John?
Not as far as I know, but I haven't looked outside in about 3 hours.
Oh, okay. Yeah, you got I'm looking at because I'm trying to look at our radar so I can like see where it's snowing. Over Morgantown is a little bit green, but everything else around it's blue. So yeah, your rain's gonna change.
There's a purple, pink, and everything else in between.
Yeah. Well, it's weird because it's like tomorrow it's gonna be in the mid 40s here. Sunday it's gonna be 60. So all the snow we got's gonna melt.
Yeah.
Okay, we're gonna try calling.
Oh, yeah, rivers rise, you know how that goes.
Yeah, let's try calling it again here. Let's see what happens. Let's give it a shot.
Your call is very important to us. Please stay on the line and you'll be transferred to the next available agent.
Let's see what happens, guys. Anyhow, we'll just kind of keep talking until we get if someone even answers this phone. I doubt it. I'd be really surprised. Mm-hmm. Every time we try to call one,
you went to hold.
I know, me too. Usually those phones are just dead. You know.
Yeah.
You call them back and it's like.
This number doesn't exist anymore.
Right. You know, it's.
I remember watching a YouTube video of a guy, and he was calling this dude and just being like real nasty to one of these scammers,
Mm-hmm.
and finally the scammer just had the number disconnected.
Mm-hmm.
It was great.
I love it when the cops like.
Oh, they get them?
Yeah.
Those are the best. Those are the best. Anyway, we'll try throughout. Maybe we'll leave it on hold for like 5 or 6 minutes. See if anyone answers. Now we'll try back a little later. Every time I do try to do one of these, we had a whole list of phone
Your
numbers.
call is very important to us. Please stay on the line and you'll be transferred to the next available agent.
Well, how about picking up the phone? Because I want to mess with you.
Yeah.
Come on, pick up the phone. It's not hard. It's not rocket science. Probably nobody even there.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah. Probably at this point tonight.
You know, it's always fun to do this. I love it because I do work for the government, right?
Mm-hmm.
I love when they call the government phone.
Right.
Because it's like I can do all kinds of crazy stuff today, like Federal Bureau of Investigation.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, it's funny because it's like it's 8:39 here on the East Coast. This Minnesota number is an hour behind us, so it's 7:39 there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's after hours. They're out partying.
Anyway, I never did flip us back to the on-air screen.
Whoops.
So
we are now.
Try. I
Your
got two.
call is very important to us. Please stay on the line and you'll be transferred to the next available agent.
And you sound like Alvin with helium.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Really?
No kidding. No kidding. Wow.
Keep waiting for the break of the Christmas song.
Yeah, that would be even better. At least that would be hold music.
Yeah.
Yeah, it'd be some kind of something to entertain us in the meantime while we're waiting on them to pick up. It's just like I always hate because when you call and you're not sure if you're disconnected or at least if you've got some kind of hold music,
Right.
Yeah.
you're still on hold.
Right.
Instead of this every 30 or 45 seconds, your call is very important to us. Please stay on the line.
Oh, that gets so annoying.
The computer won't pick up the phone tonight, but that's okay.
Yeah.
I'll call you tomorrow.
We will keep trying.
Your call is very important to us. Please stay on the line and you'll be transferred to the next available agent.
Yeah, where you at, agent? Yeah. Come on, agent.
Apparently, the agent's either sleeping party or both.
Right. Right. I don't know. We'll give it a couple more minutes, guys. It's almost entertaining, and that sounds so poorly bad. I mean, it sounds like Alvin from Alvin and the Chipmunks.
Yeah.
It's horrible.
Yeah.
It's horrible. Absolutely horrible. I'm just wondering.
Yeah, I'll ask him. You guys got coronavirus?
No shit.
Well, did you see?
If they ever answer.
There's people are selling that hand sanitizer on eBay for like $100 a bottle because it's like you can't find it in what in God's name is that?
Chicken.
I guess.
Well, could be
Orange
chicken.
chicken?
No,
No.
it's
Hibachi Express.
hibachi. Looks like
Hibachi.
it looks like something. We don't know. We'll find out.
Your call is very important to us. Please
Your
stay on the line and you'll be transferred to the next available agent.
us. Please wait for the next important.
This is almost entertaining. Just listen to that for a minute.
Yeah.
That screwed me up. I totally had it.
You should record that. That'd be even funnier.
Oh, we are.
Yeah, it is being recorded in the show stream.
Yeah, the show's recording it. I mean, we got it live.
So if you'll make that as a snippet.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so in the meantime, 3 months ago there was to divide us and the protesters, and you had your fake Antifa people.
Yeah.
You're gonna have those on campus and everything, and it's just I never knew. Okay, well, the state troopers have riot gear. I mean, but yeah, there was us gun people are we're a peaceful bunch. Hey, listen to our message. It's all we want.
Right.
We were up there protesting when Beto O'Rourke spoke at Kent State a few months ago, and we just went up there and stood around and watched, and we had a couple of guys that were like, okay, the guns are here, they're not hurting people.
No.
One kid came by, threw his Frappuccino at one of the guys on the gun table and rode away on his bike, and the two freaking bike cops at Kent State went and took him down, and he got arrested for assault.
Well.
No kidding.
Yep.
Wow. Those of you watching the video now, I've been kind of like half munching. I've been actually working on the video again. And the video is back to a live state now. It was, for some reason, it was just showing we're on break screen and the audio kept playing.
Okay.
So I kind of had to,
we're back to live video.
We're back to live video. I had to, it's back to live video now. This thing. I did a simple, kind of midstream stop-start thing, probably cut out in the video, but the audio is still good for the radio show. That's a portion of it. I think I'm about ready to take this OBS software and just throw it out the frickin' window. I'm not joking. I mean, this stuff, it's great, but
not worth the stress.
It's not worth the stress of this. I'd rather just go to a simple, straight video and whatever's there. Not even throw all the bells and whistles up.
Yeah.
Simple is better.
Yeah, I'll try another way of doing it next week or 2 weeks from now. But right now, at least the rest of the show, we should be fine.
Oh yeah.
And well, we are.
We always have trouble between 8 and 8:45. We
Yeah.
always do. And once we get to around end of the 8 o'clock hour, we're good. And by the way, the scammer phone call hung up.
Oh, he hung up? Ah, too bad.
Okay, well, a quick plug for Tuesday nights on Cuyahoga Valley Radio Network, some kind of radio show.
I like a good plug. Is this a butt plug? Because if it is, I don't want it.
No.
All right, go ahead, Eric. I'm sorry.
No, that's fine. Thanks for throwing me off. Okay.
That's what I do.
I know.
I'm the master of it.
Some kind of radio show every Tuesday night on Cuyahoga Valley Radio Network. You can listen on CuyahogaValleyRadio.com. There's other ways, but that's the most way I suggest. The best way I suggest. Because you could also see what other great programming we have on the Cuyahoga Valley Radio Network.
Speaking of which, our very good Bob Fritz is going to be doing he's bringing back oldies but goodies with Eric here on.
Yes, Saturday mornings from 10 to noon.
That's great news because Bob, he was with us at the old place.
Yeah.
And then he came
was
over
on with us Friday nights for the longest.
Yeah, that station. I'll just refer to that as that
station.
that other station.
Yeah, it works.
And then when we formed SKO,
he came over.
He came over a little bit into the thing, about 6 months into our operation, but he came over and he had a very successful run with us. And I'm glad Bob's getting back to doing his show. I know he missed doing it. I talked to Bob a couple times. I know they're starting his own station too. So I mean, it's going to be. I think we're going to have a nice network of people between all, his station, your station, some of the podcasters we know. I think we got a nice little a little network going here.
I actually network partnership with Pat and Morrow.
Oh, did you?
Yeah.
Pat's a good guy too. Pat, I told we're still trying to work out the details. I know we're talking about bringing scores there too.
Mm-hmm.
But I wouldn't mind doing that too. I think it'd be good. It's good. You really think about it. Like Tony and I were talking about this. It all started. We had SKO, and then the flowers have branched out because one chapter ended. A whole bunch of new chapters are opening for a lot of folks, and we're so happy. We're so happy.
Yeah, because it's like this year. Once I hit October, it'll be 5 years that I've been with the program overall.
Mm-hmm.
With a little bit of time off, but
right.
Yeah, because October of 2015.
It's hard to believe it's been that long already.
Yeah, because I met you about 5 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
At a little spring fling.
Mm-hmm. Doesn't seem like that long ago.
No. But it
was 5 years ago.
Yeah, because it was a year after me and my ex split up. And I just remember, going up there. It was a springtime thing, and I'm like, okay, I'll come up here and see what's going on.
Not too far from here.
Nope.
Not too far from here at all. We
right down the road.
Had some good food that day. We had some great prizes we gave out, and
yeah.
I had numerous beverages. It was a fun day.
I came out to eat, and then I left, and then I came back for a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people had split, but
we had a good time though. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah,
and
it was just like, okay, well, we're gonna kind of launch the thing, and I just remember sitting, and I just remember sitting in a couple of days, and because it was you, Deb, Dylan, Jennifer.
Yep, we had Jennifer back then.
Then when she decided she didn't want to do it, here's Earl. Hey, Tony, instead of just sitting in, you just want to be a permanent part of it? Sure.
He's like, I'm in.
Here's a pair of my old headphones.
Yep. And he's been with us ever since.
And then, of course, I eventually bought some, I was like, I'll keep these as a spare.
Right.
So, but then I'm just like,
We've had a lot, we have a couple different internet radio stations. Now we're doing back as John. Now John's been with me since 2012 doing this. And
Even further than me.
Yeah, John goes back to the days we were just doing it over the telephone, and it was really shit quality. And then
that was like Spreaker days, wasn't it?
Oh, worse.
Worse than Spreaker?
Blog Talk Radio. That was the early show. It was only 30 minutes long too. The very first show.
Right.
And then we moved it to, we got to be an hour and a half.
Yeah.
Then we were 2 hours. Then we were 3 hours. And then when we got the internet radio, we went to 4.
Yeah, we did
But
8
now-
to midnight thing. Now
yeah.
we're back.
Now we're back into 3. You know?
8 to 11's a good chunk.
Yeah, and I know Dylan tried taught me doing 8 and 11 for a longest time when we were still doing internet radio, and I was like, no, I don't want to do. But now we're back doing it as a podcast, I'm like, yeah, it makes sense because at least before we had
that last hour was a struggle.
Last hour always kicked our ass.
Yeah, but then we would still be there a half hour after we went off air,
Shooting the shit,
cleaning
up,
and,
shooting the shit, and by the time we got the place cleaned up for the next, because time we were all there. I mean, by the time the whole week was there, because we had the studio, we probably had 30, 40 people in and out of the place throughout the week.
Yeah.
And usually all the crap fell on us on Fridays to clean up. I mean, that's usually how it happened. And then I was usually there. God, I'll tell you, like the last, before Deb passed, I was going in there. I would work Thursday night.
Yeah.
I would leave work at 11. I'd go down to the studio, work till 6 in the morning, getting things ready for the
Friday,
weekend.
yeah.
And then I'd fall asleep for about 3-4 hours, and then I'd start doing station business. I'd pay the bills and do all whatever needed to be done for the station. And next thing you know, it's 2 o'clock. I'd leave, and then I'd come back about 5 o'clock.
Yep.
And then I'd stay there until midnight, 1 o'clock in the morning. And I'm like, shit, I had to be back up and go to work at 9 a.m. I was like, God,
how did you? Well, and I was there, as much as 3 times a week because I was Friday nights.
Yep.
I did my show Wednesday night 7 to 9, and then when my buddy Sean came aboard and wanted to do his gun talk, he's like, well, you know how to run the board, so can you come in and do the show with me? And then
he never did want to learn that.
Yeah, I just trying to teach him the board. Well, he's got a little bit of cerebral palsy, so it affects his use of his right hand.
Right.
It's a good thing he's a lefty shooter, and
thank God.
And but then he'd have his attorney friend, and his attorney friend is great to have on. I mean, a wealth of knowledge. This Jason dude was just great. And then, but he was apparently promising Jason all this, that, and the other, and it's just so Jason ghosted us for a while, but then he eventually came back, and then Sean said, "Well, I just want to dial down the show. I don't want to do it anymore."
Well, I remember, there was when are we getting paid? That was the thing Jason said. I was like, well, when am I getting paid?
Yes, that was, well, it was funny because I told he wanted, okay, our last show is going to be, duh, and I said, no, our last show is going to be what we've done because this coming Sunday's WrestleMania. I ain't missing it. We would have delayed our last show by a week because I'm not missing WrestleMania. I'm sorry. That's the granddaddy of them all.
Well, I'll be honest, I'm not going to, the numbers were not good.
Yeah, I mean, it's just.
They weren't good, but that's either here or there.
But yeah, I mean, so I was there. We were doing 3 hours of that. I did 2 hours of my show, 5, 9, and I'm just like, I mean, I could have set up shop and slept on the futon.
Right.
I mean, just for all the.
Yeah, Ben's done that.
Yeah, Ben did that many nights.
Yeah.
Trust me, that futon got christened a couple of times by me.
Well, I'm sure. I slept on it many a night.
No, I didn't mean christened like that.
Oh, God, Tony. The things I didn't. Thank God you did it before the cameras went in.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Because that's one porno I didn't want to watch.
Nah.
Ugh.
Nothing to see. I don't have a hairy back, so you don't have to worry about that. I just remember, we had an open seat after Ben decided, and we had someone come in and fill it, and kind of a cute girl. She was mostly boobs. So
we had some issues with her.
Yeah.
We had some issues, but I'm not going to get into all that.
No.
We had some issues.
But yeah, that was the first time it got christened.
Hey, speaking of issues, the gun girl was on. I saw her. She was some Facebook posting it. Some guy, some dum-dum out there was bashing her or something for the shit down in Athens.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's just, she can't go anywhere, and everybody thinks she's demanding the attention. That's just what she does. That's how she's making her living right now. Is she's got groups financing her, and she doesn't need money.
Right.
She got groups financing her, all these gun companies that are, and they want her to go down there, and And I know, a lot of people that aren't listening to me that follow her, but she goes down and she's she goes under an alias under Jen E. Talia.
Yeah.
And she dresses up as this feminist,
On that
anti-Trump girl. And,
Yeah.
so
On that, let's take a break.
All right.
Let's take a break, and we're gonna come back with the brew review. So, all right, some kind of radio show. We're here. We're here for 2 more hours. God help us all. We'll be right back.
Didn't see you there. Me and my buddy here have been expecting you. My sticky buddy, Sully here with the... Oh, excuse me, I've got some pussy hair on me. Check that shit out. It's a sticky roller designed to clean up any mess. Poodles, pussies, people, you name it. Use it as a back scratcher. You can rinse it off, dry it off, jerk it off. I don't care what you do with it or where the hair even came from. Silks, suedes, swag. Ladies, I don't care how smelly or hairy your carpets are. My rubber fingers get in there deep. Just rinse it off for a nice beverage. Wipe it off. Oh, there we are. Do all kinds of shit with it. Aren't you tired of ripping your hair out because you're trying to drive and the kids are making a fucking mess? You'll be making so much money. It pays itself off. Ooh, precious food.
Here's the secret on if you want to be able to stretch out your stomach to eat all that food.
Ooh, that's good.
If you eat that much, it's going to pass through your body. So
Thanks, buddy. Everybody has an evil cat or an annoying dog. Use it to groom them or even yourself.
Porta potty.
That's what I'm talking about.
His body is not processed all the time. That's why
Normally, a sticky is $20, but a sticky buddy is only $10.99. You'll also get a cover. You gotta use protection. Even if it's a quickie, wrap that sticky. Stop rolling up your money with those old lint rollers. The fuck is wrong with you? Check out the suggestively sized sticky buddy. You're gonna want to stroke it, but not too much. It'll make a mess. Hide it in your purse. 007, leave it somewhere as a pleasant surprise. And like I said before, I have magic rubber fingers that get deep into your hairy cracks. Get some buddies for just $10.99. But wait, there's more. If you have jumbo-sized pubes, we got a jumbo-sized sticky bunny. Who let Spider-Man in the house? The cat's flipping turds everywhere. Who keeps flicking their boogers under the bed? But you know what? The hair that you find is yours to do with as you please. Why not make a toupee or break out the turbo snake? All of these guys will be your buddies with their rubber fingers for just $10.99. Ask about free shipping. Now get out of my house. Isn't that right, Mr. Wuss Wuss?
If you're dumb enough to buy a new car this weekend, you're a big enough schmuck to come to Big Bill Hell's Cars. Bad deal. Cars that break down. Thieves. If you think you're going to find a bargain at Big Bill, you can kiss my ass. It's our belief that you're such a stupid motherfucker. You'll fall for this bullshit. Guaranteed. If you find a better deal, shove it up your ugly ass. You heard us right. Shove it up your ugly ass. Bring your tray. Bring your tie. Bring your wife. We'll fuck her. That's right. We'll fuck your wife. Because at Big Bill Hell, you're fucked 6 ways from Sunday. Take a hike to Big Bill Hell, home of challenge pissing. That's right. Challenge pissing. How does it work? If you can piss 6 feet in the air straight up and not get wet, you get no down payment. Don't wait. Don't delay. Don't fuck with us or we'll rip your nuts off. Only at Big Bill Hell. The only dealer that tells you to fuck off. Hurry up, asshole. This event ends the minute after you write us a check. And it better not bounce or you're a dead motherfucker. Go to hell. Big Bill Hell's Cars. Baltimore's filthiest and exclusive home of the meanest sons of bitches in the state of Maryland. Guaranteed.
The burger patty.
Some kind of radio show. We'll be back in a moment.
And but all that bread, I got through 85% of it, but I had to tap out. I will not try the Stewinator again. I know with all that bread. That this dude gave me this car the elevator. I saw that barely. Yeah. Wild Goats? No, I know where it's at. It's in the old Friendlies on West Main. I want to go to that place that had that ice cream challenge that you guys went to that night.
Yeah, I want to do that. You're late. Sit down.
Yeah, because I know. Video it and then link it.
My name is Zed. You're all here because you're the best of the best. Marines, Air Force, Navy SEALs, Army Rangers, NYPD. And we're looking for one of you. Just one. What will follow is a series of simple tests for motor skills, concentration, stamina. I see we have a question.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Maybe you already answered this. Why exactly are we here?
She's like,
Son?
you eat all that and I'll buy it.
Second Lieutenant Jake Jensen, West Point, graduate with honors. We're here because you're looking for the best of the best of the best, sir.
What's so funny, Edwards?
Your boy Captain America over here. The best of the best of the best, sir. Yeah, with honors. You know, he's just really excited and he has no clue why we're here. That's very funny to me. Y'all ain't laughing though.
They need to do that for those He-Mans at the Eastside Cafe.
Okay, let's get going.
The He-Man? Yeah. I mean, I could kill a He-Man.
Oh, I can do it.
I could almost do two of them.
I've done it.
Because who was I with the last time I had one?
Wanna get down on this?
Edwards, what the hell happened?
Hesitated.
May I ask why you felt little Tiffany deserved to die?
Well, she was the only one that actually seemed dangerous at the time, sir.
How'd you come to that conclusion?
Well, first I was gonna pop this guy hanging from the street light, and then I realized, you know, he's just working out. And how would I feel if somebody come running in the gym, bust me in my ass while I'm on the treadmill? Then I saw this snarling beast guy, and I noticed he had a tissue in his hand, and I realized, you know, he's not snarling, he's sneezing. You know, ain't no real threat there. Then I saw little Tiffany. I'm thinking, you know, 8-year-old white girl, middle of the ghetto, bunch of monsters, this time of night with quantum physics books. She about to start some shit, Zed. She's about 8 years old. Those books are way too advanced for her. If you ask me, I say she's up to something. And to be honest, I'd appreciate it if you eased up off my back about it.
You are tuned into the Some Kind of Radio Show. Call now at 234-200-5110. Now, back to Earl McCune and the Crazy Crew.
Well, apparently everyone was hearing our conversation during the break. Thanks for letting us know, Ben.
Open mics.
We had a hot mic during the break. We were talking about food challenges and food, and who knows what else we were talking about. But I hit the wrong operator error again, guys. I'm not very good anymore. No,
you're fired.
I'm fired. Fire me now. Got the live video on the Some Kind of Radio Show. Matter of fact, the on-air video needs to go back on. God, I'm slacking. I'm just so used to doing this as a radio show. Too much shit to control. I need a back. I seriously,
get in the game, buddy.
I seriously, I think I need to get a producer to handle this stuff, and then I could just talk. You know.
Where's Lori at?
Okay, I need to get a producer. No, she wouldn't want to do this. Trust me. She'd be like, no, honey, nope. She'd be afraid of. She couldn't do any worse than I could do. She'd probably do a better job than I would do. I'll be quite honest. She would do a way better job than me at this. Plus, I'm tired. I'm all over the place. Got a billion things going. Got the live video on the Facebook Live. We got the video back up on the YouTube. And we got tonight's SKO Brew review. This is from, I'd like to thank my daughter, Loriana McCune, for picking this beer out with me when we were at the store. She goes, Dad, get that one. I'm like, all right, we'll try it. This is from the Ellicottville Brewing Company. Never heard of them.
Neither have I.
This is
Ellicottville, New York, I believe.
Yeah. Blueberry maple pancake. 7% alcohol by volume. Ale brewed with blueberry and local maple syrup. And there's some information on the side. This is, again, you're right, John, Ellicottville, New York, and Little Valley, New York. This is basically where it's from. There's no real info on this beer other than basically it says
it's an ale.
It's an ale. It's a pancake maple syrup ale. We're going to crack this thing open.
Pancake maple with blueberry.
Yeah. Let's see what it's all about here.
It's not an IPA, not an India Pale Ale.
Smells good. Smells really good.
Like breakfast.
Smells really good. Let's see. Let's give it a
Breakfast
pour.
beer.
Pour it right on in. I got a Blue Moon glass, so I figured that would work just fine for this.
Yep. It's got a good color to it.
Got a very nice caramel color to it. Very, very nice color to it. This thing smells fantastic. I don't know. We're going to find out how good it is, though, here in a second.
See, I like blueberry pancakes.
And it's got maple syrup in the beer.
Yep.
So this is going to be interesting. Let's see. I'm going to... Smells. You can smell the blueberries in it.
Oh,
It
yeah.
smells like a blueberry pancake. It really does.
Yeah.
Wow.
Okay.
Smells good. Well, here we go.
Let's take our sips.
Wow, that tastes just like what it's advertised.
Yeah.
I like this. Ooh. I like this one.
Orgasmic?
I don't know if it's orgasmic, but that's nice. What do you think, Eric? You kind of got a little different look to your face. You got that, I don't know, hesitation look in your face.
I got the, hold on, let me take another sip, because that doesn't taste like what it's advertised.
Now, to me, I taste it.
Yeah.
I taste the blueberry. I
glad
taste the maple syrup in it.
Yeah, I'm glad I don't taste the pancake batter.
Yeah. Tastes like blueberries and maple syrup.
Not really.
Not real. I get it.
I do.
I taste it.
Half my bottle's gone.
It smells really good. I mean, this actually tastes really good. We got 8 people watching us on the Facebook Live. Hey, everybody. 9. Hey, everybody. SKO Brew review tonight. Tonight's brew review.
You mentioned magic word.
Is the Ellicottville Blueberry Maple Pancake. Pancake. This is great. I mean,
This will get one of my higher ratings.
This will get one of my higher ratings, too. This is very tasty. This would be great on draft. Oh, my God.
I can imagine.
I bet this would be... It's just kind of like that bumbleberry, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, that's one of those that tastes good in the bottle.
But even better on draft.
Even better on draft. I'll tell you what, this is quite a good brew here. Let me get another sip. Let's go around the room, get our scores here. Who wants to go first?
How about you go?
Tony, go ahead.
You know, I've got to say, this is probably one of the better beers that I've had out of the brew review. I mean, the only thing better I had was Tuesday night. I had a chance to have a couple of black and tans. Went and got wings. Had to take my brother out for his birthday. And I can't pass up a place that can properly make a black and tan. Had a couple of those on Tuesday night.
Nice.
So, out of 10, I've got to give this about an 8.8.
8.8. That's pretty good score.
Wow.
That's up there. That's up there.
It's a yummy beer. It's an ale, which is good.
Uh-huh.
Because an ale...
It's light, but it's strong.
Yeah.
This is one of those ones that'll sneak up on you if you drink a few
Yeah,
of
it's
these.
7%. And
it doesn't taste like 7% either.
No, it doesn't.
Not even close, but
because it's and because that's the thing is like, you know, an ale's easy to kind of flavor a little bit because
Oh, ales are real easy to flavor because they're not as heavy and they're not
like a stout or a porter.
Right. This is ales are typically a lighter beer.
Like a Rolling Rock.
And you can flavor it real
Yeah.
easily. Yeah. 8-8 for Tony. Okay, Eric. Eric Danaroni.
Okay, so.
Okay.
Yeah, okay.
I'm gonna give it a score. Go ahead, Eric. We went from like 9 people down to 1. What the hell happened? As soon as we put Eric on the screen, we went down to 1 person. Wait, no, I'm just kidding.
Now, I think because we were posted in a group, a Facebook group, and I think people were tuning in to see what we are, but then just dropped off. But I think, okay, I'd say about a 6.5 because
6.5, okay.
I don't taste. I don't know what I taste, but I don't taste the maple syrup, blueberry pancake type thing. So
See, I do.
it
No, that's where we differ.
Mm.
Tony and I both taste it.
This is the last 2 reviews that we had where I haven't tasted it, but this one, unlike the other one, it
Tony,
doesn't.
he's got to stop sucking all that dick before he shows up here.
Yeah.
Just sorry, Eric.
No, that's fine.
He's tasted the saltiness before he gets here.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not bad. Like it's good, but I can't really.
You can't place it.
Yeah, I can't place what it does taste like, but it is good.
Yeah. All right. Okay, here we go. My score time. I'll tell you what. For me, it gets its marks because to me, it tastes exactly like it's advertised. Okay. I taste the blueberry. I taste the maple in it. I don't really taste pancake, but I taste the blueberry maple. I think it's kind of what they're kind of getting at is the blueberry maple flavors to this. And it's an ale. It's a 7% alcohol. I mean, for me, it's really good. I really enjoy it. Matter of fact, I'm going to take another sip of this beer because it's very enjoyable, and I got 3 more I can enjoy over the weekend here. So,
For me, I just taste the alcohol.
we got to work on your palate a little bit. You got to refine that palate a little bit. Well, you're younger too, Eric. I get it. I mean, he doesn't have the refined palate like Tony and I have. We're a little older. But anyway, all honesty, I'm going to be pretty close with Tony on this. I'm actually going to be a little lower than Tony, but it's in the 8s. So, and if it's a beer, it's in the 8s. It's a hell of a good beer. I'm going to be 8.6 on the score. 8.6. It's very flavorful. It's as advertised. It's nice. I think this would make a great fall beer.
Yeah.
Right in the early fall. Because I mean, you see on their bottle, they got the maple leaves on it. This would be a great fall beer, like right around October time to drink something like this. But it's quite good. Good on a cold day. It's cold tonight, snowing a little bit. It's good beer.
We said nipply.
It's a little bit nipply, but it's a good beer. No qualms with it. It's a beer. It's advertised. It's as advertised. I mean, there's so many beers they advertise a flavor, and it's nothing close to that.
No.
This one's pretty damn right on for me, because I get the blueberry, I get the maple. Again, 7% alcohol. I don't taste that. I don't taste the alcohol in it. I guarantee you drink 2 or 3 of those, it's gonna sneak up on you real quick.
Oh yeah.
But definitely quite enjoyable. I would recommend this. I would buy this again, hands down.
Good choice, Orion.
Yeah. Thanks,
Lori does have good taste.
Munchie gave. Of course, she don't drink. She's 15 years old or almost, but she went with me to the store. She wanted me to go to the store with me to help me pick out a beer tonight, and she was. That one.
That one.
Yeah, she looked right at it and said, that looks interesting.
Okay,
yeah.
This time I got a little hint of maple.
You got a little hint of maple?
Yeah.
Thinking about it a little bit now.
Yeah.
Now, have you ever had legitimate real maple syrup? Because anywhere you go around here gives you pancake syrup.
It's not real maple syrup.
No.
Maple syrup is expensive.
Real maple syrup. I've had real maple syrup.
I've had it a couple of times.
I love it. I used to get some.
Now you go to Cracker Barrel and they give you real maple syrup.
You gotta remember, when Debbie was living, she's from New Hampshire.
Yeah.
When she was living, she was from New Hampshire. So
That's big maple syrup country.
Oh
up
yes. So whenever she would go home and visit family up there,
Yeah.
she'd always bring back real maple syrup.
Because you could get it fairly cheap up there.
Yes. And
but the rest of the country, you look and you're getting a little jug.
It's basically sugar.
Yeah.
It's maple flavored sugar. It's not real maple syrup from a maple tree.
No.
You know, the stuff you get up there, it's the
maple
real
syrup, yeah.
That's maple syrup.
Yeah.
And
It's the real deal.
it's the real deal, and you cannot go wrong. It's the genuine article. You can't beat it.
No.
You know, everyone's grew up on pancake syrup. They wouldn't know. You wouldn't know.
Aunt Jemima.
Aunt Jemima. You
Mrs.
know,
Butterworth.
Mrs. That's not maple syrup.
No.
That's pancake syrup.
Yep.
That's not maple syrup, like Tony was saying.
Yeah.
It's different.
I've only had pure maple syrup a few times.
Yeah, I've had it maybe half a dozen times in my life, and every time I enjoyed every bit of it. It was really good.
Because like I watch a show on PBS and they do taste test of a lot of things, and they're like, they're in Vermont.
Yeah.
Still big maple syrup country.
Yes.
And they were trying to taste test all these. They had like 5 different varieties of, as they called them, pancake syrup.
Mm-hmm.
They're like, because the average person cannot, isn't going to spend money
On
to
real
buy
maple syrup.
real maple syrup. So what are these? And the guy's like, I want a gag because we're in maple syrup country.
Yeah.
We're paying for real maple what the rest of the country pays
You
for.
could get it like locally here, like the Cheese Barn. You can go there and get it. I mean, if I go in there, I might splurge and get some. But you only get a little jar of it.
Yeah.
But you don't
It's
really
enough for
need that
2
much
meals,
of it.
yeah.
But you don't need much of it. It's such a different sweetness. You don't need much of it.
Nope.
And it's.
Well, you got to drown your pancakes and pancakes.
Oh yeah.
I'm looking to see where you can get it, if any, locally.
Grandpa's Cheese Barn.
Yeah.
Oh.
I can tell you that right now. I've got some there before.
Oh.
You can go to a farm market or something, you can find it.
Yeah, go any farmer's market and get it. You know.
I got, and I'm not just saying this because I work there, but I did find, you two know where I work, I won't say it out.
The big blue box.
Yeah.
The Spark.
Yeah.
But their brand, they claim to have a pure maple syrup.
They claim?
They claim.
Claim is a key word. Claim, right?
It better be. It's $13.
It might be. It might $13. It might be.
Yeah, it could very well be.
Could very well be.
I'm used to paying $2 for a
Little thing,
for a
yeah.
bottle of, log cabin or something.
Right.
Because when I make breakfast on the weekend, I make like 2 pancakes and then I make like eggs and-
$13.98 for a 32 ounce.
for a quart.
Yeah.
That's about a 32. That's about the same size bottle of Mrs. Butterworth.
Yeah, that's probably legitimate at that point.
Yeah.
But
for that price, it
it
better,
better be. Yeah, for $13.90, it better be real. No kidding. Anyhow, but yeah, that's the beer review for tonight. I'm going to end the brew review video.
Okay, this time I did get a taste once I got to the bottom of the bottle.
Oh, okay. Now you got a taste. You got a taste now. Yay!
Yay!
You got a taste.
It's good to the last drop.
Good to the last drop.
Yay, I accomplished something
Certainly beats that pine cone beer.
Oh God, I don't. That
Or the Leffy.
big fucking
Leffy, yeah.
big timber. Remember, I poured that shit right into a tree.
Yep.
I said, you need to go back to your home and do this pine tree.
Or that stuff that looks like snot. The
Oh, oh God, we drink a lot of shit.
What did he get you, Big Timber, anyways?
What's yeah? He got me big timber.
Like Big Timber Blonde,
it was an IPA.
or was it a porter?
No, it was an IPA.
No, he might have got you. He might have got you the IPA. Okay.
Yeah, he got me the
I'm gonna bring you
IPA.
the porter.
Oh no, he got me the IPA, and it tasted like a fucking pine cone. And it was so. It's a When it says it's familiar and piney, I'm like, oh, great. It's this Pine Sol in a can.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what it tasted like. It didn't taste like an IPA. It tasted like I was drinking Pine Sol. That's how bad it was. It was disgusting.
Yeah, when they make that beer, there's a lot of pine trees. Trust me.
Yeah, well, it wasn't good. And he told me he was going to bring me some more. I'm like, no, you can keep that shit home. I don't want that. I ain't drinking that shit again. That actually is what turned me off of IPAs.
Yeah.
I used to like IPAs. I drink that beer. I don't like IPAs anymore.
There's only a couple IPAs I will drink, like Sam 76.
Yeah.
Which they decided to keep around.
Yeah.
And then there's a couple, but
yeah,
beyond that, I mean, it's just.
I used to enjoy the Sweetwater 420 IPA.
Okay.
I used to love that. It was my favorite beer. I can't stand it now. I don't know if it's just because I don't know if my tastes have changed, which can happen.
Yeah.
I've kind of I think I used to see. Here's the thing. 5 years ago, you wouldn't catch me drinking a porter or a dark beer. Now I really enjoy the dark beers, and I don't like the IPAs. And it's like, and I really, in all honesty, I really don't drink a lot of beer anymore either. I hardly drink. I drink a beer usually when I do this review. That's usually about the only time I drink a beer anymore. Lately, if I've been drinking anything, I drink cider.
Yeah.
And that's just
your taste preference.
My taste preference these days.
Well, it's like when I went to Stan's thing, I had a New Belgium. It was an IPA.
Yeah.
That was actually quite good, which I was surprised. Because when we said New Belgium, I assumed it was Fat Tire. Mm-hmm. But it wasn't.
They got a good
an
IPA. Yeah,
yeah, it was an okay IPA.
It's okay. Yeah, it's not, like I said, a lot of people love IPA. I used to love IPAs. I just don't like them as much as I used to. I've lost my affinity for them. I'd rather drink a darker beer. I'd rather drink a porter. I'd rather drink a chocolate stout. Anything a little on the darker side, give me a good dark lager, but I just cannot do an IPA these days.
In 2 weeks, when we come back to do our next show, I'm going to see if I can find it. Have you ever had coffee before?
Coffee?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I know you don't drink it daily like I do.
I drink coffee, but not daily.
Okay, not daily. Coffee?
Makes me sick.
Okay, well.
I usually drink black coffee in the mornings if I'm going to drink coffee.
Yeah, if you're going to drink coffee, that's what I do. Is I drink my black coffee.
Yeah.
And I want to see if I can find the Pabst Blue Ribbon spiked coffee.
I've heard a lot of positive reviews about that.
So I.
People say they love it.
I've heard stories about it both ways.
Yeah, I've heard most of the people I've heard that's had it, they said they love it.
Yeah.
I really haven't heard anything negative from it, believe it or not. I mean, I was thinking, God,
PBR. I don't like Pabst Blue Ribbon.
Oh, I hate PBR. I'd rather drink my own piss than drink PBR. But before we run the break, you were talking about black and tan. Did you see our the new thing we're doing on the channel? We're doing our thing called the Drunken Bartender now.
Yeah.
And it's basically a knockoff of the Tipsy Bartender.
Yep.
And I got I'm trying to get the voice to a lower octave because I can't do the voice without yelling it. And I'll go, "Hello, this is a drunken bartender." I'm trying to get the voice, but I can't do it without getting excited, But there's a couple things I watch, because I love watching the Tipsy Bartender. I watch his videos. Religiously all the time. I watch a few of them a day. I mean, I enjoy watching his videos. And I like his website. I like his videos. And I'm like, you know what? Me being me, if I like something, I got to parody it. That's just the way I am. And so we've done a couple of them now. We did a vodka and grapefruit juice. Grapefruit juice. Gotta get. I try to do that accent. And of course, I did a very horrible pour on a black and tan, but I wasn't trying to do a good pour on a black and tan either. It was supposed to see one thing of that. I'm not. The drunken bartender is supposed to be. He's not supposed to get it all correct. That's the whole idea. I actually had my bosses. By the way, you pour a shitty black and tan. I was like, I wasn't trying to pour a good black and tan. I was trying to fuck it up. But
it's easy to do.
It's easy to do too. But I was trying to. I'm trying to make these things that are stupid simple, but like even in it, stupid simple, but you can still screw up in a way. That's the whole idea behind it. and I'm going to probably release one of those every week, at least one or two a week. And I think coming up, I'm actually going to how to let's see, we're going to do a
screw up a Cuba. Tell them you're going to start pouring. You know what a Cuba Libre is, don't you?
No, what is that? No.
Rum and Coke.
Oh yeah, pour rum and Coke.
Yeah,
I'll figure out how to screw that up.
No, I've been places before because when a bartender pours you a drink, it's normally throw the ice in the glass, you throw the booze, then you throw the mixer.
Yeah.
But I've seen bartenders throw the mixer in,
then pour
throw
the booze.
some ice, and then throw the booze.
No, you
in
got to
it.
throw the booze in first.
Yeah, because it's got to have a chance to self-dilute.
Yeah, you get for one, it's how you mix it. You know, it goes in and self-mixes.
Yeah.
You know, that's the idea of it. But we're gonna have some fun with the drunken bartender. That's gonna be one of our new things we're gonna be doing here on the SKO Media Group channel. When we do come back, Hilljack's not here tonight, but
Thank God.
no, we still get to hear Hilljack. We have a best of Hilljack tonight. We have a.
Is there such thing as the best stuff?
Well, in his mind.
Yeah, I guess.
But we do have a best of Hilljack.
It's just an of Hilljack.
Yeah, of Hilljack. The Hilljack Archives. The Hilljack Archives. That's what we're going to say. It's the best of Hilljack Archives. That's it. I think tonight it's about what women do in the bathroom together. So that's going to be interesting. But we're going to hear that here when we come back. But all right, we're going to play our next Will Smith clip and put up our little Will Smith trivia, and we'll be right back.
Tony, I looked up where you can buy it. I didn't see it anywhere where you could find the PBR spiked coffee.
I'll find it someplace. I'll go to like Wine Cellar or 101 Bottoms.
Okay.
That's funny. Get past the first 45 minutes, now the video is like perfect.
Oh. I don't get it. Yeah.
I don't get it.
Welcome to technology. Well, is it snowing
Yeah.
currently?
No.
If you have Spectrum and you have
Snow.
underground lines, rain,
freeze.
snow, whatever,
They freeze.
no. When they get wet, it fucks everything.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
So.
Yeah, because all my lines are underground.
Internet, phone.
Yeah. Everything.
Good luck.
Yeah, that explains a lot.
Yeah.
Maybe once the weather gets nicer. I mean, I'm gonna look at another program just to see if there's something comparable to this. See if it works better. I mean, I got a couple weeks to dig with this, but yeah, I'll try to either do this tonight or tomorrow. But I just gotta remember all that. I'll go through and I'll edit it, of course. You know.
Yeah. I mean, most likely it's going out because of Spectrum.
Yeah.
It's on Spectrum's side.
Yeah. Because now it's like smooth as silk going through. It's going through good. The video's good. The audio's good. No phone issue tonight.
No. As long as the lines aren't getting wet, there's no issue. But when the lines are getting wet, they go in and out, and then it just fucks everything. Oh shit. That's the one reason I like using Live 365 because they have the auto video where I can just throw everything in and.
It's not even on site.
Yeah.
This is cloud-based, basically.
Yeah.
So it's running from their server, not yours.
Yeah. I mean, it would be nice if there was another licensing service.
Right.
That doesn't completely fuck you over, no matter how much you pay.
Hi, Chris.
Mr. Fromm, good to see you.
Nice shirt.
Thank you, sir.
Chris.
Hey, Jay.
Chris. Sit down, please.
I thought I'd wear a shirt today, you know, being the last day and all.
Well, thank you. Thank you. We appreciate that. But, wear one tomorrow, though, okay? Because tomorrow's going to be your first day. If you'd like to work here as a broker. Would you like that, Chris?
Yes, sir.
Good. We couldn't be happier. So, welcome. Was it as easy as it looked?
No, sir. No, sir, it wasn't.
Good luck, Chris.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Okay, sir.
Oh, Chris. I almost forgot.
Thank you. This part of my life, this little part, is called happiness.
You are tuned into the Some Kind of Radio Show. Call now at 234-200-5110. Now, back to Earl McCune and the Crazy Crew.
Apparently, Earl still doesn't know how to turn off microphones and hits wrong buttons and everything. Welcome back. We're going to go ahead and this time right now, it's the best of Hilljack time. Who's excited? This is all about women in the bathroom. That's all I can tell you. All right, Hilljack Bob's top 10. Hilljack's somewhere. We don't know where he's at tonight. He told me he would. He told me he would be back sometime in April. That's about the time frame we're going to see Hilljack back live again in the studio. He's going to be.
Thank God.
Yeah, it saves us for our nostrils. I mean, every time he comes in, my nose hairs fall out. I mean,
I can actually breathe tonight.
Yeah.
What's he doing?
Hilljack's not here. Thank goodness.
Or what?
I don't know. He just said he had some things he was taking care of. Can you play some of my best ofs? I'm like, sure. So we can do that. All right, here we go, guys. Hilljack Bob's top 10 coming at you.
Well, hello out there, everybody. This is Hilljack Bob, and I'm back for another all-new Hilljack Bob's Top 10. Well, this one today, I had to make a long-distance phone call to my cousin Carl, and he went out and did some interviews today. Well, not today, but the last couple of days. Why women take so long in the bathroom. And he actually went out and asked a lot of these women, why do they take so long in the bathroom? So we came up with a top 10 list based on that question. So here we go. Number 10. If the bathroom's very nice, they admire the decorum. Well, I guess they like the decor. I guess, they look at the wallpaper in there, the public bathroom, and they look at it and it's pretty. Sometimes you maybe take a little bit of soap home. Whatever. I know my wife Frida, she likes to take little miniature bars of soap, especially when we go to a hotel or the motels and get the little bars of soap in the bathroom. And sometimes that takes you a little while, so I can understand that one. oh, thank you. Give me a little bit more. Give me some whiskey today. That's a nice one. Thank you. Oh yeah. Okay. On number 9 here on our countdown, they take extra time to wash their hands. Well, he talks to, but my wife, she never washes her damn hands at all. So, I guess that's the reason. Okay. On to number 8. Now, this one, I don't understand this one at all, but sometimes the women just go in the bathroom to fart just to get away from the men so they don't fart around the women. Well, and sometimes it takes a little while for that fart to come out, so I don't mind if they fart in here. It's a normal body function, you know, and women fart, I fart all the time. I don't know. Anyway, on number 7 here in our countdown, they go in the bathroom, not necessarily to go, but just to talk about their men. Well, I guess they go in there and they talk about their men. They, you know, you'll hear one of them talk about how small her man's pecker is, and then another one will say how quick he is in bed and whatnot. But I'm just going on the notes that I got here, so I don't know anything about that stuff. Okay, on to number 6. They perform their beauty rituals. Well, I guess they do. Some put the makeup
on for this because
go
we are going to comment on Hilljack's top 10 here.
Thing, and, well, according to my cousin Carl, they go in there to take the rat out. Well, those tampons are good for taking the rat out, I guess.
It is. I can't see the lights. That's why I keep missing. I can't see the lights.
Take the rat out. Never mind. Okay, on to number 5. They go and...
But how do you know that what goes on in the ladies' room? Well, after Hilljack's done talking, we'll talk about this.
How women go, but I know when I go, I just whip it out and go pee. I mean, I go anywhere. I go behind a tree. It doesn't matter. I'll go right here. I just whip it out and go pee. But, I gotta go pee. Studio. Okay. On to number 4. Sometimes the women have to actually hover over the seat. Well, they don't like. Some women don't like those ass gaskets. Some bathrooms don't have the ass gasket. In some bathrooms, I guess the seats are just so bad they feel they just gotta, they kind of gotta straddle the seat. And they gotta hover over it and then go tinkle tinkle. So, okay, on to number 3, and I guess this kind of applies to the bigger girls. It takes them a little while to wipe. And, well, sometimes the bigger girls, they gotta kind of, look for it. I don't know. I just don't. This is my cousin Carl's list, not mine. I'm just reading what he wrote down for me, so guess they take a little while to wipe. Okay, on to number 2. Number 2 in the countdown. It takes women a little extra time to take off and on their pantyhose. Well, that could go a couple ways there, but, well, sometimes, the women got the little extra, the garments, and they're a little trickier, than some of the men's garments, like a guy like myself, again, like I said, I just whip it out and go, but the women, they have to work that pantyhose up and down, especially when they gotta go 1 or 2, well, they gotta sit down either way, so it takes them a little while, so. Okay, and the number 1 reason, and this one kind of shocked me when I first read it, takes them a little extra time in the bathroom because they're actually having sex in the bathroom. I can understand that one. I've had sex in the bathroom many times with many fine different women. I've had 5 wives, and I've had sex with all 5 of them. Not the same time
I hope
in
so.
the bathroom, but in the bathroom in general. So, well, I want to thank my cousin Carl for supplying me these top 10 lists this week. And he's actually went out and interviewed many different women and got a consensus here, as he told me, and put together this top 10 list of answers. So, well, we'll be back next week with another all-new top 10 list. And again, this is Hilljack Bob, and you've been listening to Hilljack Bob's Top 10. We'll see you next week. Bye-bye.
Okay, Eric. Anyway. Now that Hilljack's done talking here, how the fuck do you know what they talk about in the ladies' room? You started talking about, Well, that's actually accurate. How the hell do you know?
Okay.
Do you got a little glory hole somewhere? You're not talking about. Eric's got a glory hole.
He's in cleaning the ladies' room at work, and he just happens to hide out in one of the stalls.
You hiding out in the stalls in the ladies' room at work?
Listening.
All right, go ahead, Eric.
That's not. Okay, that wasn't a misquote, but I.
Oh, it's not a misquote.
No, but I kind of misspoke.
It's a bit. Okay, go ahead, Eric.
Not that I know what they talk about, but like, okay, I'm basing off of like high school and stuff, but notice how groups of girls will go into the bathroom together. They don't go in alone.
Well, there's some truth to that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the whole point of this top 10.
Yeah, exactly.
That's what the top 10 was about.
Yeah, I know.
But I just want to know how you know that's actually it. You said, "Oh, that's actually true."
Okay, like I said, I misspoke.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Shit's getting deep now. If you want to grill Eric about this, call us 234-251-10. Phones are working. We'll put you right through. We'll put you right through. Now, John.
That's just what my
John, give me your thoughts on this top 10 here. That some of the stuff that he was saying.
I swear he's got a peephole in a girl's locker room at the local high school.
He probably does. Hilljack is the epitome of not allowed within 600 foot of a high school.
I think you're talking about me.
That doesn't mean he obeys it.
We're talking about Hilljack at this point. Yeah, I think Hilljack definitely isn't allowed within 600 feet of a high school. If not, if he is, he shouldn't be allowed. That's all I got to say.
Well, you never know if it's the playground. It's the playground part of the school part, though.
Yeah. That's what worries me. That's what worries me, John. I'm very worried. I'm very worried.
I mean, when he's out like this, I'm worried too because I'm scared what he's going to come up with.
It's scary. I mean, this is old. This top 10 was actually done on the old show. We're talking back in the
16.
No, before that. This is more like 13. 13 or 14 when he did this top 10. So this is
7 years old.
This is an old one. I mean, this is archive, big time back in the archive here. So we were sitting there talking about. We were sitting there kind of talking about. I was like, yeah, let's talk about this. Let's just kind of drop in our little 2 cents here. Let's. And I figured out why I'm hitting the wrong buttons. I got this stupid light. Okay, this gold light here on my video screen. Well, this thing is so bright, and the way the lighting is in here, I can't see the freaking buttons. I can't see the lights, the indicator lights. So I think I'm missing them because I don't see real good. So I'm not using this light anymore. I'm getting rid of this damn thing. It's not going to be in use right here anymore. I'm not using it. I don't need it because I can't see shit when it's on. So guess what? This light going bye-bye. I'm going to find another use for it because I can't see what's going on with the board because back in the old studio, everything was bright. Okay. Yeah. Well, we're kind of dimmer here. We got, we're basically, we got rope light around the perimeter, which lights up the whole place.
Yeah.
And
our disco light above us.
And we have some other lights. And Victoria's calling. Let's take a call from Victoria. Oh my. Hello, Victoria.
Oh my. Good evening,
Good.
gentlemen.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Did you get?
Hi, Victoria.
Did you get to listen to any of Hilljack's top 10?
Yes, I did, and on some of them I'm kind of actually insulted.
You're insulted. Okay, I want to get your take on this because, of course, you are a female, and we'd love to get. I've never noticed, but I'm just kidding. Victoria, give me your take on Hilljack's top 10. I mean, you said you're insulted. I want to hear from a woman's point of view, because allegedly he got this from his cousin Carl, who interviewed a bunch of women and got these answers. I would love a female's perspective on some of these top 10 answers.
Let me see. What are my reasons I take so long in the bathroom? Well, what my number one reason is because I'm trying to climb out the window to get away from my date.
There you go. That should have been on his top 10.
Yeah.
That should have been on his top 10 all the way. I know Lori, when she goes to the bathroom and takes a long time, she's trying to climb out the window to get away from me. Period. She's like, I gotta get out of the house. I can't do it.
I am. I'm sitting in the bathroom calling an Uber, like, hey, hello, come get me now, please.
Really, that bad, huh?
Oh, I've had a few.
Oh well, I get it. I get it. Okay, so anyway, a couple of his answers was they were having sex in the bathroom, which
that's true.
I know that's true. I'll tell you a true story.
Been there, done that.
True story. Okay, I worked at.
Oh no.
Let me tell you this story one time. I walked into a. Here's the thing. I work in the bowling business, as you know. Okay, so I had to go clean a bathroom one time. Okay, someone said there was something in there. They needed toilet paper. That's right. They need toilet paper. So I go knock. Hello, maintenance, coming in. Anyone there? No one says a word. So I'm like, okay, nobody's in here. And I'm like, okay. And I'm like, I hear movement after I'm in there for a good minute. I'm changing toilet in one stall. And next thing I know, I hear, I'm like, what the fuck's going on in here? I'm like, all right. So I'm just like, I'm going to get on out of here. I want to see who the hell comes out of this bathroom. Probably about 5 minutes later, I was, of course, to my knowledge, I was the last person to come out of that bathroom. No one went in. Finally, 2 women come out of the bathroom. Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Where was I?
These were not, it wasn't good. Let's just put it this way. It was not good. They weren't hot lesbians by any stretch. It wasn't good. The one probably, the one had like a buzzed head, but hair about as short as mine. And the other one was about 300 pounds, uglier than sin. She might have been a hell of a...
You know what they say, big girls need loving too.
Well, that's true. Mm-hmm. But, man, I'll tell you what. And they come out, and they just smiled, because I think they knew it was me. They smiled at me like, yeah, you get to hear a little action. There wasn't much action to hear, because all I heard was, that's all I heard. I'm like, somebody's in here.
Weak sauce.
It was bad. It was pitiful. Very pitiful.
Maybe they were hoping
They
you'd
just
join
don't know
them.
how to do it like me.
Yeah, they were bad. I don't think they knew what they were doing. I think they was, I don't know. And if they did, they were, I don't know. I didn't see it. I'm glad I didn't see it. Thing is, I didn't know what else to say or do because I was probably maybe 22, 23 years at the time. I was still a little more on the naive side back then. And I'm like, what the fuck? And if it was me in my 40s now, how I am now, I've been like, pound on the stall. Hey, if you're going to do it, can you at least do it on the floor so we can all watch?
Well, without getting into too many details, I'm just going to leave you with this picture. One time,
At band camp?
wild, we not only broke the toilet paper dispenser, but we actually broke the handle off the toilet.
Oh, shit. Oh, shit. Sex in the public bathroom.
Hello.
Been there, done that, guilty as charged.
Yeah, I've done that too.
Cuff me and send me to jail.
I don't remember. Here's the thing. It wasn't even good. I couldn't have been more than maybe 19 or so at the time. It wasn't good.
Play it off.
Oh, you tried to play it off.
Like we didn't even break it. We just walked out of there all casual, like hey, what's up?
Hey, how's it going? Shitter's broke.
The little bar boy bitch had to go in the bathroom and clean because another patron had went in there and complained that somebody messed up the bathroom. I'm sitting there drinking my drink and trying not to laugh because we know which stall she's talking about. And I'm like, hurry up and finishing my drink and we're getting the fuck out of here.
Right. Worst thing I think, this is totally nothing to do with sex in a bathroom, but I think the worst thing I ever saw in a public bathroom, I kid you not, I was working at a bowling center, and someone decided to take a shit in a urinal. Oh yeah. Big shit in a urinal.
Must have been an Ohio State fan.
And in the sink. And I had to clean it. I was not a happy camper.
Was this in Akron?
Yes. Enough said. Yeah.
Hey, that was almost the night of Father John's confessionals. too.
Yeah. And if you have a confessional for John, send us an email at skoradio.com, or actually skoradio.com is going by the wayside. skoradio@yahoo.com, and we'll be more than happy to take your confessional for Father John.
And I will answer them.
John does answer them too. He will answer all his flock. John has
What's up, big brother?
That's right, little sister.
John's flock. Okay, everyone
My
hold.
congregation.
Yeah. Okay, everybody, hold the line. We're gonna go ahead and take our next break and play some more Will Smith clips here on Some Kind of Radio Show.
Get jiggy with it.
Everyone, stay tuned and stay on the lines. We'll be right back. Some Kind of Radio Show. Here live on Friday nights on YouTube and Tuesdays on the Cuyahoga Valley Radio Network. We'll be right back, everybody. And yes, I am hitting all the buttons this time because I can see them.
I must have the wrong house.
Sister? Oh, I missed you so much. They waited up all night for you, you know.
It's a long way from West Africa. Oh, coffee.
He's here.
I brought you something from far away.
Really? Oh.
What are you doing?
You're my present this year.
The best part of waking up is Folgers in your cup.
See? I smelled it. He's back.
Ryan, you have to leave.
What? What are you guys talking about? We know what's going on here. We know you're trying to each other.
What? No. Oh, please. Brothers and sisters don't look at each other like that.
He sent you to West Africa for a reason, Ryan, to separate you and your sister.
You're crazy! Oh, yeah? What's this?
He's my present this year.
Jesus Christ.
Okay.
Oh my God! Oh my God!
I'm your son, and I'm in love with your daughter.
Oh, Ryan, what is in that box?
What's in the box, Ryan?
It's mine.
Give it. Unbelievable.
Holy shit.
Emily, I love that we have so much in common because we grew up together. And I just want to wake up every morning to the smell of you and Folger's Colombian dark roast. Emily, will you make me the happiest brother?
Dad! Get off of him! I love him! Oh, no! No! Stop it! Stop it! No! No! I just want to my brother!
It's Folgers in your cup.
The Some Kind of Radio Show will be back in a moment.
You gonna be wanting a different club there, Junior?
I can't do this.
Yeah, you might should just loose your grip up a smidge. You know, a man's grip on his club is like a
That's
man's
not what I'm
grip on...
talking about.
I know.
No, you don't.
What I'm talking about is a game. Game that can't be won. Only played.
You don't understand.
I don't need to understand. And a soul on this entire earth ain't got a burden to carry he don't understand. You ain't alone in that. But you've been carrying this one long enough. Time to go on, lay it down.
I don't know how.
You got a choice. You can stop, Well, you can start.
Start?
Walking.
Where?
Right back to where you always been, and then stand there. Still. Real still. And remember.
It's too long ago.
Oh, no, sir. It was just a moment ago. Time for you to come on out the shadows, Junior. Time for you to choose.
I can.
Yes, you can. But you ain't alone. I'm right here with you. I've been here all along. I play the game. Your game. The one that only you was meant to play. The one that was given to you when you come into this world. You ready? Come on, take your stance. Strike that ball, Junior. Don't hold nothing back. Give it everything. Now's the time. Let yourself remember. Remember your swing. That's right, Junior. Settle yourself. Let's go. Now is the time, Junior.
Hey, Bagger. Yep. You are one hell of a caddy.
You are tuned into the Some Kind of Radio Show. Call now at 234-200-5110. Now, back to Earl McCune and the Crazy Crew.
All right, we're back, everybody. Hey, I was just watching some of the comments there on the YouTube page. Everyone, let us know if the callers sound louder now. I did a couple of adjustments to the mixer. All right, John, Victoria, are you with us still?
Absolutely.
Okay, that's loud. Okay, hope that's going out better for everybody. It's if anyone's listening right now and watching, let us know in the comments. Let us know if you hear Victoria and John better on the phone. I made a few tweaks on the mixer. I just wanted to make sure that it's better. I do want to make sure we got good audio going out for our callers, just as well as the... here's the thing. We had some issues last week with the phones. I actually had to turn everything down because of the issues we had. It was so screwed up. But this week, hopefully it's better. So now we got John and Victoria back with us. So anyway, we were talking about stuff in the bathroom before we went to break. And let's continue this conversation, shall we? John, bathroom talk. Talk to us about exploits in the bathroom other than when you shit yourself on the air. John?
I don't know if he's still there.
No,
I'm here. I'm sorry. I'm here.
Oh.
He was.
Would you put the vibrating pussy down and just answer the phone?
No, dumbass me was on mute.
I hate when that happens.
Operator error.
Operator error. Anyway, anyhow.
Is that what they call it now?
All right, go ahead, guys.
I'll call it whatever you want, honey. Anyway.
Anyway.
Yeah, that was the all-time classic moment, though. Was the confessions in the bathroom there that night. But I'll tell you what's funny. These women, they go into the bathroom, they go in by twos. They never go in threes or ones. It's always even numbers. It's amazing.
Yeah.
You wonder whether they're tag teaming in there or not.
No, mainly we're checking each other out. I'm wondering who got what from where.
Well, that's probably true.
At least in my case, that's majority of the time. But I'm not gonna lie and say 95.9% of the time I'm checking out the girls, see what she's working with.
Yeah, see, men, we don't care. It's like, well, okay, I've seen one of those before. Big deal.
Go to Kent. The discussion of who got what from where is, it's like, okay, well, I got chlamydia from 157 because it's probably the nastiest bar that's in the strip, and it's just like, does this rash look like it's infected?
OMG.
My bows itch.
What's funny is just like, they bounce around from like bar to bar. I'll drop them off here, and then of course everything's within a walk of one another, and the best place is up, and they end up at this bar, and the owner of this bar is like sketchy. He sleeps with a lot of his female employees. He doesn't make them, but they feel obligated. So he goes through a lot of bartenders, but it's yeah. The guy, when he's got an apartment above the bar, and that's where he lives. And you walk in, and have either of you seen Austin Powers, the first one?
Yes.
Okay. You remember on the plane how he had that the whole bedroom set up to get it on? That's what I've heard. That's what I've heard this apartment's like.
Shag carpet, yes.
Yeah.
Shagging. Shagging, baby.
It's like the shagging suite. And it's just like, and all these girls are just like, well.
I used to have a shagging wagon. I used to have a minivan.
Oh.
And
yes, you did.
I had a minivan. I had two minivans actually, and the one minivan I used for work, but I had an air mattress in the minivan.
A bumper sticker on the back if this van's a rock and don't come a knocking.
No, so if it's rocking, come on in. There's always room for more. Not really, but sounded good. No, I used to have this. I used it to haul parts and stuff for work all the time.
Okay.
And it was nice. And I threw an air mattress in there one time. I was like, what the hell, Not that I ever used it for that, but
And you never thought of that? Why?
Because just I'm a perv. What can I say?
You ain't.
I'm a perv.
No, you know what the best?
Nothing wrong with that.
The best is a gal I went to school with. She's a couple years behind me.
Yeah.
The first time I had seen her since school was a few years ago when I'm up in Lorraine.
Mm-hmm.
She lives in the area.
Okay.
And she just happened to come up, and she's like, okay, well you're up in my area and everything, and so she come up. We hung out a little bit, and and I knew because she had come out for Halloween one year.
Right.
And she came out late, and now Victoria. How do you define those few days a month where you can't, where you get your little monthly visitor? What's your term to use?
Oh, Jesus. This show went from talking about guy stuff to let's talk about periods. All right, sorry about that. Let's go.
Depends on what mood I'm in.
Because
that raggedy bitch from the south.
Aunt Flo, I've heard them all. There's Aunt Flo.
She referred to it as Shark Week.
Oh, Jesus.
Shark
Week, huh?
And she was like, well, it's Shark Week. And I said, no, that's in April. I never miss an episode on A&E. Be thinking that's what Shark Week is to me.
That was Discovery Channel.
Oh, Discovery Channel. Hell, I don't know. And she's like, no, it's Shark Week, and I'm like,
It's supposed to be Discovery Channel, I thought.
So, so she came out.
I'm sure he got Discovery.
Oh, yeah. So I'm like, okay.
That's a discovery you don't want
to
make.
Seek and destroy.
Yeah. So,
something along them lines.
So, she's up there, and, it's obviously not the right place, but, okay, I'm always up for it. She's like, well, I owe you something from your birthday for one was Shark Week. But she's just like, there's obviously no place to go. And I'm like, well, we're not going to fit my Avenger, so this is when I still had the Avenger.
Uh-huh.
And I was like, well, watch this. So I walked over and I saw, because there's people that'll pull up on their boat, get off, and they'll come to the music thing, and they'll stay there a few hours, and they go back on their boat. So I walked over to this guy, and him and his his son were getting off his boat, and I was just like, you don't mind if so I stepped on with them, and I was like, oh, nice. I'm like, can I hang out here even when you guys go up there? He's like, sure. So him and his son went and had a good time, and we went down in a little hidden cabin area, and
the hidden cabin.
Because you go down up underneath the bow.
Made
and,
sure she was seaworthy, huh?
Yeah.
She get her sea legs underneath there? Yeah.
Yeah, the boat was a-rocking.
Yeah, she had her sea legs in the air.
Yeah. Ahoy, I'm going to drop anchor.
Dinner.
Oh, my God. Only on this show we go from...
It could be worse. It could be worse. I was bartending one night at a bar that I used to work at, and a girl was in there getting her jollies off with a toy, and the thing got stuck.
Whoop.
Oh, I hate when that happens.
And when I mean
It got stuck?
It got stuck.
What, did she get it like up in there all the way and then like it got stuck in there? I mean that kind of stuck.
The poor girl was like gripping the bathroom door frame, trying to come out of the bathroom, going, "Can someone please call 911?"
Oh my God! Wow.
Did you?
What,
and I happened to be the one and only barmaid working that night, and I was like. We had nothing but guys like working in the kitchen and bar backing, and I'm
It almost sounds like that girl I met years ago, and I'm talking years ago. And true story. I've told this story before on this show.
Oh, the bowling pin girl.
The bowling pin girl. Oh yeah.
Yes, the bowling pin.
Yes, this girl.
I remember that story.
I mean, I'll compare it to for reference for everybody. We'll just kind of compare it to this whiskey or this vodka bottle here. Okay.
Ouch.
This vodka
That's
bottle.
really good you got
Let's
there.
pretend this vodka bottle is a bowling pin, okay?
Oh, she's ouch.
Okay. About the same size. Maybe this is just a tad. Yeah, about the same size, really. Just the head to be a little bit bigger. And I was with a buddy of mine, and we're at my old job at the time, and I was still single at this point in my life, and he goes, I got us a couple dates for later tonight. I'm like, dude, I just want to go. This is me. I want to get done working. I want to go get a beer, and I want to go the fuck home. That's just me. I mean, I put in a 12-hour day. Last thing I'm thinking about is getting jiggy. You know, I mean, this is just me. I just want to. It's been a long week, one of those deals. So anyway. Anyway. So I'm telling. So here's the story. This bowling pin girl. Okay. This girl was something else. Wasn't nothing really to look at. Not bad looking, but not like, oh my God, I don't know. Okay. He brings this girl in, and she's like, she's in a short skirt. She's super horny. Great. I'm like, she's like playing with a bowling pin, and she's sitting there like, oh. Starts like rubbing it between her legs, like, what the fuck's this chick doing?
Oh.
Yeah. It's like, what's this chick doing? Next thing you know, she had it in her area, if you know what I mean, to about here. Okay? I'm like, there ain't a damn thing I could ever do for this chick. I told my buddy, I was like, they're both yours. I'm going the fuck home. True story. True story. True story. Absolutely true story.
Definitely call it a true strike.
Yeah, bowling pin girl, you got to tie a board to your ass to make sure you don't fall in.
Yeah, well, I mean, it reminds me of, I remember back, I was working, this dude I used to work with, I kid you not, he used to like get his jollies off all this weird porn and shit. you're like, oh, dude, look at this one. Look at this one. He saw this one video one time.
Was
He
his
showed.
name Malone?
No, just about as bad though. Just about as bad. He's like, here, look at this, and he shows this bald-headed dude shoving his head in, and had room on all sides that cleared. I'm like, holy crap! What the hell is this? I'm like, yeah. I was like, dude, you watch, and he's like enjoying this shit, like, oh, this is badass. I'm like, no, that's not badass, dude. That's horrible. Freaking horrible. Like, how can you watch this shit? I'm like, even I was like, no, that's not good, man. That's not good at all. He's like, oh, that's badass. I'm like, oh, yeah, that's badass, dude. I said, if you get with somebody like that and you're going to try to get in there, you think she's going to feel you and you're going to feel her? No. Not happening. She ain't feeling shit, and neither are you. Guaranteed.
Well, and you know,
I said, dude, you're no John Holmes.
No. And it's like, you know, I used to always joke with the women. I'm like, I'm only white from the waist up.
Jesus Christ.
I mean, why do you think a lot of the really heavy white girls get with black guys?
I
Because,
don't
you
know. I never really
they
tried.
got big feet.
I never contemplated that idea. I never even thought about it.
You know, black guys will get with thick white women. You know, they'll take care of them. You know, the
Yeah.
white women will take care of the black dude.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just speaking from what I see in the hood down here in Akron.
Mm-hmm.
And B, you know, well, a black man's got enough equipment to get through all the extra barrier of the thick white women.
Extra barrier.
Yeah.
That's a new way of putting it.
Need extra layers.
That's called a fupa.
Yeah.
I saw something on Facebook. There was like a one of them like someone like photoshopped the image on the T-shirt, and it was something like I remember what it said too because I saw it this morning. You know, there's fupa here. Yeah, I might have a big fupa, but I sure as damn got a good chalupa. I mean, it was something like that. And I'm like, I'm doing all these like, what the fuck is this shit? It was like,
no, the bigger the fupa, the better the chalupa.
Yeah, thank you for
There you
correcting me.
go.
The bigger the fupa, I don't know about that.
No.
I don't know about that. I don't know about that either.
Because like Tuesday night when we're at Tuesday night we're out getting wings and everything, and I look through, and the place we go to used to sell fish tacos. And you know what's another term for a fish taco?
Right.
A pink taco.
Mm-hmm.
And poor girl that was waiting on us. I'm looking at her because
Poor
I wanted
girl.
I wanted to get wings.
Poor girl. Poor girl.
And I looked at her and I'm like, "What happened to the pink tacos you guys used to sell?" And she was like, "Because the Arby's bought them."
Well,
So-
they have the meats.
Yeah.
If you can call it that.
Fitting that I'm there.
Yeah, well, that you mean their meat glue meat that you're seen that
Yeah.
meat glue shit? Oh God.
Yeah, it's Arby's Meat Mountain.
I watched a video about meat glue about a year ago, and I cannot find myself going back to Arby's anymore because I know they don't have. It's not real meat. You know, it's meat, but it's like put together meat.
Yeah.
And they show this video about how they put all these different meats together, and you know, because always got their roast beef's always got those little air bubbles in it. Well, because it's all glued together, and they say this meat glue is hazardous to you can't inhale it; it could kill you. But it's cooked out, and it's okay to eat. Like, I don't know about that no more. I don't think.
Yeah, no thanks. I'm done.
I'm kind of done eating that shit now. No way, I can't do it again. Then I showed it to Lori, and she's like. No more. She's like, she gets really, and I don't blame her. After she saw that, she's like, I ain't touching Arby's no more. No way, because she never knew anything about that. Because there's a video channel on there I used to watch. I usually watch a lot, Ballistic Barbecue, and he did a video about, and he made a ribeye out of like 6 different cuts of meat, and he actually got hold of the stuff to make meat glue, and made a ribeye out of like 3 or 4 different cuts of meat. And he goes, yeah, it tastes like a ribeye, but it's not real, because it's different cuts of meat put together. And it's like paste, and You have to let it sit, and then and you're like, oh, it looks like a real, looks like a real steak, but it's not. I mean, it's real meat, but it's not it's
not a legitimate
cut of cow. Yeah, it's like different cuts from different parts of the animal, and they kind of like glue this shit together to make one steak.
Yeah.
And it's like it's disgusting. You think about it. It's like I like different cuts of steak, but this chemical shit they use to glue the meat together. I don't know. I'm kind of like weirded out by it. I'm like, I don't know if I can eat that again. I can't do it. Can't do it.
That's as bad as what McDonald's and Burger King do to make their chicken nuggets.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, this is how they make.
Have you seen that?
Oh yeah, I've seen how they do. That's disgusting.
Oh.
It's like Burger King's chicken
My
nuggets.
kids are not allowed to eat that garbage.
Burger King has gotten so bad lately. I mean, in the last, I don't know, 6 months to a year, I think their food quality has taken a nosedive.
So is Chipotle too.
Yeah, a lot of the stuff has. But
They've been taking lessons off from Chipotle.
Well, Burger King is so bad. I mean, I don't think I've had a good Burger King sandwich in over a year.
I quit eating Burger King like 5-6 years ago.
Oh, you're not missing much.
I will say, the plant-based burger that they got.
Oh, it's good. Don't get me wrong.
Oh my God, I love it as long as it's made right. Because the ones by my house can't seem to get it right.
Keywords belong to be made right because there's a couple Burger Kings near here. There's one by my work. I refuse to go to that Burger King.
I know which one you're talking.
Horrible.
Oh, that one is disgusting.
They can never get nothing right. But I go to the other one down the road. They usually do pretty good. Now they're Impossible Whoppers. That's what they call it.
Yeah.
I've actually I did a burger review on it. It was actually really good. I enjoyed it. But that was the only one of those that I actually liked. The first one I had. Ever since then, they haven't got them right since. They've been dried out. They've been either undercooked, undercooked.
They're overcooking it.
They're overcooked, and it's like leather now. You can't eat it. And the last couple of times I'm just in the mood to have one. Let me get one. And they slap and like the lettuce is slimy. Too much mayo on it. The tomatoes are freaking just slime. And I'm like, who can eat this? And the burger overcooked. The bun's dried out. Tony's falling asleep.
Right. Come on, Tony.
We were talking about sex. He's wide awake. Start talking about food. He's passing out.
I thought food was one of his favorite
Tony's
topics.
hungry.
Well, no, and it's like I quit eating Burger King 5-6 years ago.
Yeah.
When they bought Tim Hortons and moved out of the country.
Right.
That's now I have no problem buying Tim Hortons. I know they're Canadian.
Yeah.
They just opened up the second one by my house.
Yeah. And you're happy about that.
Oh, I'm happy.
Tony's
Uncle Si happy.
Tony's got a chubby walking around. Yeah.
But no, and Chipotle, I haven't eaten that since all those stores closed.
Yeah, Chipotle's still not bad.
I mean,
but,
Tim Hortons.
Oh, I don't know, man. Don't come to the one over here because let me tell you, oof.
There's two near here.
Wait.
Again, it's one of those. I'll go to the one. I won't go to the other.
Right.
That's kind of where I'm at.
Well, let me put it this way: when I find something crawling in my Chipotle burrito bowl, that's
Oh God. Jeez.
no, I'm good.
Oh.
Like, you can keep your nasty ratchet bowl. I'm good.
Oh.
Just give me my money back, and I'm going to roll my happy ass around the
Yeah.
corner to a House City burrito where I know the owners will be like, look, can I have a real burrito bowl?
Right.
Go to Hotheads. Try one of theirs.
I've been wanting to try that. Now I know there's one. What, in Alliance? That's the only one I know of for sure.
There's one down in Green as well.
Oh, there's one in Green. I didn't know
77
that.
Arlington.
Is there? Okay.
Yeah, try that.
I knew the one in I knew the one in Alliance because when Lori lived down near there, we went to eat near there and we saw. I was like, oh, Hothead Burger. I've heard of them. I never had it.
Good. You like them better than Chipotle.
Really? Okay.
You probably would. See, the thing that also turned me off on Chipotle before all the food illness was they quit doing the quesadillas.
Oh, really?
You could buy,
Okay.
you could spend like an extra $1 to buy a tortilla,
Mhm.
and you know how when they steam the tortilla before they make your burrito,
Yeah.
what they would do is they put the tortilla, cheese, another tortilla, steam them together, then they would roll your burrito up in that.
Right.
It was like a quesadilla. Around your burrito got rolled up in a quesadilla. They were
Anyway.
great. I'd spend an extra $1 for that.
I want to take 30 seconds and I want to read this Facebook message I just got on our Some Kind of Radio Show page.
Okay.
Hey, how's it going? First time I've ever listened to your show or watched you guys.
Okay.
You guys do a good job. But what the fuck do you guys talk about? You say you're saluting Will Smith, but you haven't talked about Will Smith once. What the fuck gives? Okay, well, I'm not going to mention any names. I'm not going to do that. But I'm going to answer the question. I'll tell you what this show about is. Okay, here's the deal with this show. We call this show some kind of radio show because this is literally the radio show about nothing. Okay? This is what this show is. It's think of us as the Seinfeld of radio.
Yes.
Okay? This is the show about absolutely nothing. We talk about anything and everything and whatever comes to mind, whatever topic comes up. We have a few things we definitely hit points on. The movie salute or actor salute or celebrity salute, whatever we salute, is what we call the background topic. It's our sidebar topic. What we do is we play clips when we take our breaks. We put a little trivia up on the screen about the actor or the movie or whatever we're doing. It's a background topic. We do a salute, and it's not the subject of the show. And the reason it's not the subject of the show, because I know I'm not going to sit here for 3 hours and talk about Will Smith, for example.
No.
Or Men in Black, or any other movie we ever salute. I'm not going to spend... This is not a movie show, okay? What we do is, again, we use it as a background topic. And what I mean, again, by background topic, again, we go to break every half hour. We take 5 minutes. We play a clip. It's just something that it's filler. That's what I mean. I'm being very, very honest with you folks. It's filler. We use it as a bumper for us to give us a little 30 seconds or 5 minutes just to kind of like, okay, stretch your legs, scratch your nuts, whatever you got to do, and we play some clips. It's just kind of a fun thing we do to give us. It's a segue for us. It breaks up the show a little bit. And again, we don't talk about typically. Unless we have like we've had another bullshit thing story for another time to talk about. But, or we have Troy on. Troy was on Saved by the Bell. Troy calls this show all the time. We've had Troy in the studio. We talked about Saved by... When we do like specialized topic shows, yes, we'll talk about that topic. But this show primarily is a show about nothing. We don't talk about anything in particular. It's a variety program. It's a topic program where we kind of go, we take your calls. Callers bring up topics. The panel here brings up topics. We're not your typical what you call, see, this podcast used to be an internet radio show, okay? We never changed the formula. When we were doing internet radio, what we did, we ran it like a radio show. We still run this podcast like a radio show. Basically, we are a classic. Here's the thing. Best comparison I ever got, and I got this from our good friend, the late Stan Pyatt, is you guys are a morning radio show at night. Classic. And he said he nailed it. He nailed it right on the head. He goes, that's what you guys are. You're the classic morning show, but you're doing it at 8 o'clock at night. He goes, no one's ever tried that. It's a great idea. And that's what we do. We talk about anything and everything. We have the occasional interview, but it's usually 3 or 4 of us sitting around shooting the shit. The subject matter of the salute is a background secondary topic. It always has been with this program.
Also, for that listener, sorry to cut you off.
Oh, you're fine, Eric. Go ahead.
You can listen to this show and a bunch of other shows. This show, Tuesday nights on Cuyahoga Valley Radio Network. You can listen at CuyahogaValleyRadio.com. That goes from 8 to 11 on Tuesday nights on Cuyahoga Valley Radio Network. And feel free to check out the roster of other shows that we have that run throughout the week.
Now, if you didn't know, and those of you just tuning in, Eric is the owner of the Cuyahoga Valley Radio Network.
Yes.
So that's why he's promoting it. That's why he's promoting the hell out of it. Yes. And Eric's a good friend of ours. Eric actually interned with us when I owned SKO Radio. So
Yes.
And then Eric went on and formed his own station. I got to say, I'm very proud of this young man. He's done a hell of a job. He's gone further than I ever could imagine you did, man. And you've done a great job, man. I'm very, very proud of you. And,
That means a lot.
And very happy to see. I remember when you came in and interviewed with me, you were so freaking nervous. Like, man, let's give you a shot. Yeah, I think you got it. What it takes. You told me you love doing this kind of stuff, and you do. And he's never not stopped loving it. And when we shut down the radio station, he was one of the only people to stick around and help close the place down and pack up. And we had a hell of a night there getting the place closed down and packed up that last night. But Eric, I can't say enough good things about this young man. Kid's got some serious talent, and he put together a hell of an internet radio station. And
thank you.
Very proud of you, man. I mean that from the bottom of my heart. You've done a hell of a job with your station, and you did it right. You've done it right, man.
Thank you.
You're welcome. All right, on that note, let's take our last break of the night, shall we? And you're listening to and watching Some Kind of Radio Show here on YouTube. And if you're listening on Tuesdays, the Cuyahoga Valley Radio Network. Stay tuned. We'll be right back. Oh, and by the way, there's an important thing I have to say. I farted. Be right back.
RBF is a serious epidemic sweeping our nation. RBF, better known as resting bitch face, has plagued women for centuries. We all know them. Some of us have even been them. Stop the madness. Get the help you need. Call the Ditch the Bitch hotline now. 1-800-RBF-NO-GO. Trust me, I suffered from RBF. And look at me now. I'm cured. Stop insulting strangers, missing out on free drinks at the bar, and getting passed over for promotions. Call our Ditch the Bitch hotline. Get the help you desperately need. 1-800-RBF-NO-GO or 1-800-732-6630. Ditch the Bitch today.
Mom, can I have a popsicle? No, honey, you'll spoil your...
Hey parents, tired of those out-of-control kids? Throwing embarrassing tantrums wherever they go. At the grocery store, on the playground, even at the dinner table. You've had it with parenting, but wait, there is a solution. Introducing Nap Time, the latest, most effective tool for child tantrum prevention. It's simple. Just douse a rag with our patented Sleepy Time formula, place it over your child's cry hole, press and hold gently for 8 to 12 seconds, and presto, no more tantrum.
I was beginning to think adoption was the only way out. Then a friend of mine introduced me to Nap Time. It's never been so quiet around here.
The secret lies in Nap Time's revolutionary fast-to-sleep formula. Developed by military-trained scientist doctors from NASA, Nap Time's powerful molecules rush to the child's brain on contact, gently inducing instant tranquility.
This is chloroform.
Already put those wallet-draining crap factories out on the street? That's okay. Nap Time works in any situation. On the golf course. An awkward blind date.
I had a really good time tonight.
It even works on pets.
After we had our first child here, we regretted it almost immediately.
We didn't know that she'd cry so much.
Talk about defective. But thanks to Nap Time, our little Samantha here hasn't made a noise in weeks. I keep her in a shoebox.
Call now and we'll send you your very own 24-ounce bottle of Nap Time solution for only 23 easy payments of $1.99. But wait, there's more. Act quickly and you'll also receive the all-new Dream Sack absolutely free. It's compact and portable for those on-the-go tantrums. Just cover it, tighten it, and forget about it. It's that simple.
We can't breathe good.
So if this looks familiar...
I feel pregnant.
Then don't wait! Order today and join the millions of Americans who just can't stop saying...
Thanks, Nap Time.
Thanks,
Thanks, nap time.
Thanks, nap time.
Nap time, when they just won't shut up.
The Some Kind of Radio Show will be back in a moment.
General McGrath's boys. Waiting for y'all for a week. You show up now.
Jim, you wouldn't be working up here tonight now, would you?
Working? Now, would you be working if you were up here with you? I think so.
Back it up good, Virgil. Next stop, New Orleans.
Easy!
I'm not working.
Problem solved.
Hold on there, Belle. You can't just go ramming a man's personal things into some hole like that.
Is that so?
I didn't mean it like that.
And this crate's heavy.
Jim.
Much as I'd like to take credit for that, darling, you might want to hand me my gun. Woo! That was fun. Which one of you boys wants to strip down and go next? Bet you do. Eh? Sure could use some clothes down here, ma'am.
Well, well, we got us a shiny.
Hands!
You are tuned into the Some Kind of Radio Show. Call now at 234-200-5110. Now, back to Earl McCune and the Crazy Crew.
That's right, 234-250-110. We have plenty of lines open. Give us a call. We'd love to hear from you. We have the live chat going on the YouTube channel, which has been pretty active tonight. And I want to thank those who've actually taken a few minutes in messaging and let us know about the phones and other little issues. We thank you for letting us know on everything, folks. Also, I've added Victoria as the... she's always on the chats.
Yeah.
And I don't really get to watch... I don't really keep track of the chat going on too much during the show. I just put her on as moderator for the chats.
Yeah.
So she's always on the chat. So I just want to make that announcement too. Our good friend Victoria, she's going to be the chat moderator on the video for YouTube. So that's a helpful thing because I can't always, we get so much going on. I don't have time to sit and really look at the chats. So I usually don't leave the chat screen on unless I look at my phone. It's the only reason I really know we had chat going on because I was like, oh, I better look at my phone.
Ding, ding,
So,
ding, and you get all the chat stuff on.
Yes. Yeah, COVID-19, coronavirus. Let's talk about this a little bit here because I'll tell you what, this
people aren't buying Mexican beer.
I'm telling you what, this whole thing, we've been talking about this. My boss and I at work, Lori, my fiance, and me, we've been talking about. We're going on a cruise in June, and we're going to Miami for our honeymoon.
A Will Smith tune.
Yep. Yeah, exactly.
Welcome
to Miami. But we're going to be going. We're going to be away for about 10 days doing that. But like I've been hearing from people. Oh, like my aunt freaking out. Oh, you're going to get the coronavirus going on this cruise. I'm like, it's going to be wiped out in about 3 months. Here's my take, and if I'm wrong, call me in, call me out on it. I'd love to hear your take. 234-250-110. I'm telling you, like Tony said off the air, and I agree with him. It's an election year. They want to stir the fucking pot. They want to. The media wants to get this. This is media driven more than anything. with the coronavirus, yes, it's out there. People are getting sick. We've had some people dying. It's very unfortunate. But we get more deaths from the flu on a daily basis than this thing has done since it kind of popped its ugly head up. And I'll tell you what,
Kind of like whack-a-mole.
I am not going to live in fear. Yes. And this is a message they always say, oh, wash your hands, sanitizer. They tell you that with the fucking flu. Guys, here's the thing. Yes, it's out there. But
Can I interfere?
go ahead. Victoria, by all means, go ahead.
As a medical professional myself,
Yeah.
they've been telling us even though it is just kind of like the flu,
Mm-hmm.
it's like an more aggressive form
Right.
of a flu. But the problem is the difference between where it's a flu, where the germs can remain on a surface for 60 minutes and
Mhm.
still infect somebody. This can last up on a surface for up to 2 weeks.
Right. Oh, it's out.
It's driving forces because
it's out.
Anybody with a 2-week period can be infected.
I'm not disagreeing with you at all. But what I'm saying is, I think they're putting the media is behind putting more of a scare into people right now.
Oh, I agree.
And I mean, it's like go back to Ebola. Remember the Ebola breakout years ago? Yeah, we actually had a case of Ebola here in town because somebody and remember that girl owned that dress shop. Yep. They shut that thing down. But you know what it is now? It's a dojo. It's a dojo in North Hill. They were talking like, oh, Ebola's going to kill everybody. That's all. It's all you heard on the freaking news for how long? It's going to kill everybody. It's going to get everybody. Oh my God! And within what? 2 months, gone. You don't hear Ebola anymore. It's not even in the news.
Victoria, being in the medical field, was the coronavirus a thing before it was a thing? Like before it was made a big deal out of?
I didn't know about it personally until literally right after the first case was when we got our notification.
I mean, I mean, how I feel about it right now is just like
And they had to send a warning letter out to all of us.
I mean, I'm not saying it's not, and it's out there. We know it's out there. But the way I'm looking at it right now, and this is just my take, there's so many people living in fear. There's people that are refusing to travel. There's people refusing to go out of their houses right now because they're afraid they're going to get this shit. Mm-hmm. There's no confirmed cases in the state of Ohio right now. None. There's 6 in Washington State, that we know of. There's been some deaths, yes. But here's the thing. Everybody right now, I mean, what it is, and that's all you hear on the news. I mean, you can't turn on the news. You can't turn on a single news channel without them talking about this. I get it. It's out there. But they're making more, they're talking about how deadly this is.
They're
I get it.
instilling fear into us. We don't need that.
Well,
if
you want to compare, how bad it could potentially be, compare it to, back, remember when there was the big MRSA scare, or back when there was the big, what was the other one?
The bird flu?
MRSA.
Oh, the bird flu, the swine flu. I mean,
Yes.
they always put these, and they make this, it's almost like, there's like a political agenda behind all this crap. Always is. Always is.
Well, I would also be careful saying the actual word CV, because I have a friend who runs an internet radio program, and every time he mentions that word in his book, and I swear to God, I don't believe in the Bible. I'm not a religious person. I was raised Catholic, but I will put my hand on the Bible and swear to this. Every time he says that particular word, he gets dinged by the FCC for saying that word.
Well, here's the thing. The FCC, let me change your subject here. Internet radio, okay? The FCC has zero jurisdiction over internet radio. Zero. None. So anyone's telling you they're on an internet radio station, they're getting dinged by the FCC, I'm sorry, they're full of shit. I'm being honest. The FCC has...
They're threatened with you can't you can't use these certain words on your radio program.
It doesn't...
You cannot...
It's bullshit
in
because...
any way, shape, or form. They've actually... Somehow, he's trying to figure out who...
And it's not the FCC, because the FCC has zero regulation, zero authority, zero control over internet radio broadcasting. Broadcast radio, which is known as terrestrial radio, you tune in your regular radio, your AM, FM dial. They have jurisdiction, which you can and can't say. They cannot. The FCC has zero jurisdiction over satellite radio. They have zero jurisdiction over internet radio. And the reason those are not broadcast. Those are streaming services. Even satellite radio is not broadcast. It's satellite transmission. Basically, it's through the internet. That's what satellite radio really is. In all honesty, that's what satellite radio is. It's
Well, whoever the entity is that was harassing him, they were purporting themselves to be FCC. I'm just going by what I was told.
Yeah, well,
and they're saying you can't say this word, you can't say that word.
If your friend,
we will pull your videos, we will pull your entire channel off of YouTube.
Doesn't they have they have zero, and I mean zero, and I know this because I was in the internet radio business for a number of years.
Right.
I owned my own internet radio station for 3 years, almost 3 years.
Well, you never know. People are crazy.
People will say they're this, they're that. The FCC has zero regulation. Oh, they want to. Don't get me wrong. They're trying to get control of this shit. It's been going on for years. They want to regulate streaming services. They want to regulate internet radio, but they have no authority over like programs such as this on YouTube, internet radio, anything streaming. They have zero, and I mean zero authority.
Yeah, they can't even.
They can't tell you what you can and can't do.
Yeah.
If they were broadcasting over the air, different story. And Tony's falling asleep yet again. We got him on, and you see him on the screen. He's like, "Here's Tony."
Just stick a dildo in his ear. He'll be all right.
We should keep a squirt bottle handy and start squirting them.
Yeah.
But I'm just being serious, Victoria. I mean, I know I've been through this. I've talked to a lot of people about this over the years.
Right.
Internet radio, streaming podcast, anything like a YouTube podcast or any of these podcasting sites such as Spreaker or
Anchor.
what is a few of them out there?
Anchor.
The FCC has got zero authority over any of it.
For even
Well, see, the funniest thing to me is like he's got a lot of shows that he runs, and it's almost daily that he runs his shows, and YouTube actually pulled a lot of his videos and deleted them because of the content.
Well, usually when YouTube pulls a video for content, it's usually been reported for some reason or another. And that's usually what happens with YouTube videos. A lot of time with YouTube it's why a video gets pulled with YouTube. And I'm an expert on this. This is why I dance around certain salutes, okay? I know things like I will not do anything that involves NBC Universal. Your video won't even make it to the light of day. Anything with anything. There's two companies out there. If I try to salute to their properties, they get yanked.
Yeah, they get a little testy.
It's Disney and NBC Universal.
Yep.
Anything with those, forget about it. Your shit's gonna come right down. Your videos get yanked off of YouTube. Believe me, I know. I've danced around this so long. And it's usually for copyright reasons. That's usually when they pull them off. Now you have to actually report when you do your video is if it is it kid friendly or not. You have to state that. That is part of the new rules with YouTube. Is you have to state if it's a kid friendly video or not. I always put this as a not kid friendly video because of the fact we do swear on this show. I don't necessarily want a 10-year-old kid listening to this program.
Mine does.
Well, I mean, I don't necessarily want that, but if they do, they do. But I mean, hell, my kids heard worse. Hell, my kids used to sit on this program when they were 7, 8, 9, 10 years old and hear me say all sorts of outlandish shit. But I'm glad you brought this up because this is something that I know I've been around this stuff for a long time. I know what you can run. I know what you can't run.
Yeah. Here's the thing. If it was like something like that, I would understand. But here's the thing. It's stuff relating to what's going on in the world, and he's gotten a lot of people that he knows within the military community who've been filtering him information, and a lot of stuff that we, the John Q. public, aren't supposed to know that they've been filtering to him, and he's been putting it out there on blast for all of us to know. And as soon as he puts something up that's controversial, boom, there goes that video. They're pulling it.
Well,
that's the problem.
Yeah, I don't even know if it's controversial so much as if it's not. Does he run like copyrighted content?
No.
Okay, because usually that's what they pull for is copyrighted content.
Anything that has to do with the government, if he says certain words within his broadcast, it gets yanked. They get a little testy, and it gets yanked. If he's talking about things that are going on, like for example, it's like what's going on up in Oregon and Washington with all the hullabaloo that's going on up there.
Yeah.
They're trying to yank his feed.
Yeah, the only time like I said, the only time things like that usually do happen, and this is just experience based, is
it's almost like they're censoring his.
Well, if there's some kind of
putting out there.
If there's some kind of copyrighted content involved, that's usually what happens. Usually with YouTube, that's especially with YouTube, copyrighted content gets yanked. I mean, here's the thing: there is a such thing as called fair use. Okay, there's a thing. It's under Section 107 of the copyright laws. Fair use is allowed for commentary and such.
Oh, yeah.
So, it doesn't. And there's some companies it's a lot of algorithm out there too. Now, if there's some stuff that's deemed too sensitive, sometimes they'll pull it too for being too sensitive or too graphically or. I don't know what the context is. If it's too graphic, sometimes they pull it for that. I know I've been dealing with a lot of stuff with YouTube for years, especially with this program, especially I get a list of people that always send me, hey, can you salute this? Can you do this? Can you salute that? And some of these things I'll say no flat out because like anything that involves NBC Universal, Disney, those are the two I just steer clear from because if I try to use any of their clips at all, it doesn't matter if I get them from YouTube or not. They yank them because the algorithm will say, yep, copyrighted, we're dead yanking it, we're pulling it. And they've done it to me before. So
I'll give you a quick example. He was live streaming from his phone on YouTube in the parking lot of a Costco where he lives in Washington, talking about the coronavirus and how everybody was running to Costco. There was lines going down the road like 2 miles. People trying to get into Costco to buy supplies. And no sooner than probably about 45 minutes into his broadcast of his feed, all of a sudden the video went and disappeared.
I tell you what happened. Costco probably had it pulled. That's why, because they have links to they have their stuff, they have their own channels, and if there's an algorithm, okay, YouTube runs on algorithms, okay, and if there's anybody that has a certain, they call it copyrighted or whatever type of thing. A lot of these companies don't want
proprietary data.
It's proprietary. Thank you. And things like that, yes, they will get yanked because there's video involved inside their store. They want it off. They don't. You can't go into and it's kind of a law thing. I mean, it's you can't go into someone's store and start streaming. I mean, you
Oh,
just,
he was outside in the parking lot interviewing people that were waiting in line.
yeah. Well, that's the thing. I mean, but if their logo's involved
That's
at
still their
all,
property.
it's still on their property. They're not. They don't. A lot of these people, they will. It will show up and it will get dinged. I mean, that's just kind of what happens. So I understand that. I mean, that's kind of it's a proprietary thing at that point. I get that. I mean,
Some of this stuff is just ridiculous. It's just like, okay, so he talked about the government making military moves up in the Cascadian Mountains up in Washington and Oregon. Like, they're talking about how there's going to be a major earthquake up there because certain things are going on up there. There's jets doing drills up there, and people have seen it, and people have been sending in videotapes of, the things going on up there, and he's putting it out there. And as soon as he talks about anything that the government is deemed, seems like the government feels is too, how do you put it, too real for John Q. Citizen to handle, they want it yanked. They go in there and they try to snap it out.
And I do want to cover on something real quick here. One of our chatters made an interesting point that there is Ohioans being quarantined for coronavirus. And there is a thing on Google here, and I'll kind of just touch on this real quick. 2 Ohioans being tested for coronavirus. And this is an update. Another novel coronavirus test in Ohio came back negative Friday, bringing the total to 8. And this is according to Google here. There are no confirmed cases in Ohio, and there's still 2 other people being tested, and they're under quarantine until the tests are complete. So right now it's suspected cases in Ohio. There's been 8 people to this point out of 10 tested come back negative. There is still 2 people under quarantine. And if you watch your video right there, Tony's passed out.
Yeah. And I know there are 3 people here in
Tony,
West
if
Virginia.
you
They
fall
tested
over
too,
and
and none
put
of
your
them
head
have.
wide
Yeah.
open, I can't help you, bro.
Yeah, but I just wanted to touch on that because one of our somebody did bring it up. Mimi on our live chat, he said people in Ohio are being quarantined, and he is correct. There is 2 people right now under quarantine.
Does it say where?
That's just in Cleveland area. That's all it says.
That's great.
Yeah, well, they're under quarantine because of suspected possible possible exposure to the coronavirus. But again, it's quarantine. And it's all pending results of the test. So as of right now, there's 2 people being quarantined. As of right now, and this update was just as of 4 hours ago on Google.
It's
So
for my son's school.
yeah, so I did want to address that real quick before we sign off. But yes, he is correct. So there's 2 people under quarantine, awaiting pending results of the test for the coronavirus. So we'll see what happens. We'll kind of touch on this again when we're back in 2 weeks from tonight. Again, we are on a bi-weekly schedule right now. We are not on a weekly schedule. We are on a bi-weekly schedule just because of my schedule, if that makes any sense. My schedule is all over the map right now with my regular daytime, evening/job. So we are going to be doing a bi-weekly schedule right now. So we'll be back in 2 weeks from tonight. And that week's in 2 weeks salute is going to be the late great Bernie Mac. We're going to play some Bernie Mac stand-up comedy in 2 weeks. So we're going to kind of hit on some comedians here for a little bit. And I got a couple great movies lined up for the month of April that we're going to do. So we're going to stick with the bi-weekly schedule for right now. And again, we're going to continue to work on, I guess the first, 10 or 12 shows back, is kind of a testing period for us, always has been. And we're still trying to get our bugs out of everything. But I think we're getting closer. Our phones are working tonight, which is a plus. We had a little hiccup with the stream for the first hour, but that seemed to resolve itself, and I'm glad that did. It's the time of day. I'm thinking, 8 o'clock at night. It's one of the high points of internet usage. Again, we're on a home system now as opposed to when we were on our business line. when you have business, it always takes priority over home. And when you're in the home and you're in the middle of a neighborhood, yeah, the bandwidth gets knocked down a little bit no matter what you do. So, and you know how that goes.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. But, all right, we're going to go ahead and sign off, and we'll be back 2 weeks from tonight. And I want to thank everybody who tuned in tonight, messaged us on the chat. I want to thank Victoria for being on the line. Thank Father John, as always. Thank Tony here for being here. And, of course, Eric Danaroni. And tune in to the replay version of this show Tuesday night at 8 o'clock. It's a slightly different version. It's a little bit edited. We polish it up a little bit for internet radio. But I want you to tune into that if you get a chance. It's a lot of fun listening to the show on internet radio because we're still there. We're just not there all the time.
Yeah.
And you're gonna run us on like a 2-week cycle, right? You're gonna yeah. Okay. Good deal. All right. Well, it's time to get out of here, guys. So we'll see everybody in 2 weeks. Have a good night. Bye.
Bye.